Good afternoon, everybody. It is 5:08. Thank you all for attending this regular meeting of the Temple City Council for July 21st, 2022. Please rise as Mayor Pro Tem Morales leads us in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by City Secretary Jana Llewellyn.
Join me, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your blessings and for loving each one of us. Today, that we pray that you would grant us a sufficient grace to navigate our way through life in the power of the Holy Spirit. You have called us to be as wise as serpents and yet as gentle as doves. And so I ask for your practical wisdom and discernment so that we may be enabled to identify what is from you and make wise decisions. Father, we pray that every person in this city meeting will be united in heart and that our very presence will be recognized and impactful. Father, we gather today. Help us to remember that we are the salt of light of the earth and teach us to be the salt of the light in this community meeting. May our community and city be known for love and fairness. Eradicate any prejudice and injustice from our hearts, in our words and in our actions. Help us to love as you love us. Let peace and unity prevail in our community. Help us to be an instrument of your peace. May we each bring our experience and expertise to the table to work out solutions together that is best for our citizens and our city. We pray for spiritual revival, bringing repentance, restoration, and renewed focus on you, that the revival begins in our own hearts and spirit right now. May this be a city of light. Father, today, because of the drought and the lack of rain we're experiencing now, it is causing many hardships. We humbly ask, Father, that you favor us with rain so that our lands can produce the foods we need. And it is so that we trust and we thank you for this blessing. Lastly, Father, we ask that you walk with us daily and what we do in honor, and whatever we do is honoring you. We ask for blessings for all our citizens and leaders in our world, our nation, and our city. Bless our mayor, our city council, our city manager, our city staff, our police and our fire, our first responders, and all those who work tirelessly to serve our community. Lord, we thank you and we love you. We ask this all in the name of your precious son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, very good. We now move on to the public comment section of tonight's meeting. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may do so as long as you signed up to do that prior to this meeting. Please understand that no discussion or final action will be taken. And when I call your name, if you step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. We have a number of people who've signed up tonight. So obviously, like I said last week, want to hear from everybody that wants to speak. But if you feel like if you're a little further down the list and you feel like your point has already been stated, then just let me know and we'll move on. But if you want to repeat what somebody else has said, that's fine too. Okay. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. The first one on the list is Russell Best.
Good afternoon. My name is Russell Best. I live at 409 West Oakland Avenue in Temple, Texas. I've been a resident of Temple for approximately 4 years now. I want to be very clear tonight. My views are based on facts, not emotions. Emotions for weddings, funerals, and bar mitzvahs. So my views tonight are not based on my personal or religious beliefs. Tonight, I am speaking against the funding for the Nova Collective. In my 35 plus years of professional employment in the public and private sectors of this country, I have never hired, fired, or created a position for anyone based on gender, race, their personal beliefs, or their religious beliefs. This council is contemplating spending $112,000 on gender diversity. This is insane. There is no place acceptable in city, state, or federal government for this agenda. I am a strong advocate in support of our constitutional rights for freedom of choice, religion, the right to carry and bear arms, and speech. I would have been sued, fined, and or fired if I had ever hired or fired anyone for any of these reasons. $112,000 of taxpayer money should be used in the support of the poor, hungry, homeless, and elderly people in our community, not for gender diversity. This is a personal lifestyle choice. It is not a requirement for successful city management. I have always been blind to all of these things. But when determining my budgets, these things for my budgets, my only concerns were the qualifications for the position I was hiring for. This is, without question, inappropriate and inconsiderate to every taxpayer of this city and state to ask the American people to fund a personal choice. Mayor, if this is the new practice in developing your budget, as a very tall, handicapped person, I demand at a minimum $112,000 of funding from this council to represent tall people of this city. And let me be clear, I truly believe you will agree that this request for funding is just as insane as funding for gender diversity. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Is it David Barrows?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is David Franklin Barrows, and I live at 7615 McCullough Road in Temple, Texas, 76502. Recently, in the dark of night, hold on, let me start again. In the near future, I should say, the Temple City Council will entertain the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission to determine whether $112,000 should be used to hire a firm identified as Nova Collective, and who you're going to be a hard act to follow. Nova would interview city employees to determine if those qualities mentioned above are present in the workplace. A chink within their organizational strategy is that Nova Collective may only include those that they believe should be interviewed, being exclusive of those that may have beliefs contrary to its own desires. Texas and federal legislation guarantee the right of address should wrongdoings occur in the workplace, and individuals have the right to seek corrective action. Legislative tools include the Workplace Fairness Act of 1999, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the National Labor Relations Act, and many others. I am not concerned with the interview process itself, as long as it is done from within house, just as a matter of fact type situation. However, feeling that something may uncover that is amiss can be dealt with at that time. I am very concerned with what appears to be a cavalier spending of our tax dollars. $112,000, as was mentioned before, of our money. It is a cavalier spending that it appears to be. a choice that you possibly will make to spend. For what reason? I don't know. It could be better utilized, that $112,000 could be better utilized to improving city services, hire somebody to help. I encourage you, council members, Jessica Walker, Judy Morales, Susan Long, Wendell Williams, when Mayor Davis asks you, how do you vote? Vote meaningfully and not just rubber stamp yay to wasteful spending. Thank you. That concludes part one.
You've got 23 seconds to finish up.
I had two items and I requested 2 3 to 5 minute segments.
That's on the regular meeting.
Who said that?
I did.
Someone from the audience.
If you're on the agenda,
Rayford, we got it. You're running out of time.
Could I ask you for 3 minutes?
Because I'm a nice guy.
I know that. I know that, and I appreciate it. And as I was saying, recently in the dark of night,
Let me
if
back
you
up.
go ahead and,
The only reason why he's getting another 3 minutes is because it's a different subject. Okay?
well, that was my intent when I signed up.
No, I understand. It's just the next person says, well, you gave him another 3 minutes. We're changing topics, so I'm giving you 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, good. Very nice of you. Thank you. Recently, in the dark of night, a vehicle traveling northbound on Old Waco Road in Temple, Texas, became out of control. It traveled across the southbound lane, leaving the road, resulting in a single vehicle traffic accident. The driver may have encountered a section of the road where road repairs existed. Could these be the cause of the vehicle veering across the southbound lane and into the brush? It finally came to rest against a tree. It is possible that other factors may have been contributing. The driver was severely injured in the crash and later died of the injuries caused by the accident. Earlier this evening, I presented an opinion of how our tax money is spent. And if you'll go ahead and just go through the pictures. The pictures up here show the road and the area. You can see the fixes on the road that need fixing. Earlier this evening, I presented an opinion of how our tax money is spent. Would the repair of this road section be of more import than an opinion poll? Spend that $112,000 wisely. Thank you very much for your time
Yeah, thank you, sir.
and consideration.
Glenn Bowen.
Thank you. My name is Glenn Bowen. My address is 5815 Turtle Creek Drive, Temple, Texas. I'm here to share with you an encounter with Mr. Stephen Drew, an employee at Simmons Golf Course, on the day of Friday, July the 15th at approximately 10:30 a.m. in the morning. My golf lesson at the Simmons Golf Range was interrupted by Mr. Drew. My student at the time was Michelle Tisch, principal of North Belton Middle School. Mr. Drew motioned me over to where he was standing about 20 yards behind us with a small group of guys standing behind him. I walked to Mr. Drew and he said, "You cannot teach here." I said that others are teaching here, so I should be able to teach here as well. Mr. Drew blurted, "No, you're not. You cannot teach here." I said, "Sir, I plan to continue teaching here." He said, "This is your last lesson. You will not teach here again." I said to Mr. Drew that I had spoken to several golf pros that teach here and that none had requested or gotten permission. One instructor explained that he had taught here for over 7 years and he never needed permission. Mr. Drew, a little louder now. "If I find out who he is, he will not be teaching here again. We've already stopped other golf teachers from teaching here, and we're going to stop you too." I said to Mr. Drew that I needed to continue teaching here because there's nowhere else in Temple that I can teach. And then if necessary, that I would take this up with City Council at a future date. Mr. Drew rebutted, "Go ahead. The City Council loves me. I know everybody in this town that means anything, and they will back me up." Now tapping my left shoulder with his finger, Mr. Drew blurted again, "You're nobody. You are meaningless in this town. You are not even a peanut. No one will listen to you." I ignored his finger tapping, but he continued, "You hear me? You're nobody. Nothing, not even a peanut. You are done here." I said to Mr. Drew that I needed to finish my lesson, and I walked back to my student. At this point, Mr. Drew got in a golf cart and raced toward me. He hit the brakes, stopping short of just where I was standing. Mr. Drew then blurted to my student, "He is not allowed to teach here, and I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this." I asked Mr. Drew not to speak to my student, but to speak with me instead. He blurted the same message to my student twice more. Then Mr. Drew sped away in his golf cart. I finished my lesson and we left the range. So who am I? I'm nobody. I'm nothing. I'm not even a peanut. My name is Glenn Bowen, but my golf students call me Coach Glenn. Before I became nobody, nothing, and not even a peanut, I was founding publisher of 2 international magazines launched in the 80s and 90s. The magazines are titled Pinworld International and Watch Journal, both high-end publications for collectors and industry leaders. In addition, I was a published book author, a journalist with hundreds of magazine articles under my byline. Looking back to 1967, I was a biomedical research assistant involved in solar studies with the University of Houston's Physics Department and the Baylor College of Medicine. My role was to operate the technical equipment known in the scientific community as a spectrophotometer,
Mr.
which I
Bowen,
calibrated to
Mr.
measure.
Bowen, I don't mean to be hard to get along with. I'll give you about 30 seconds to wrap up, but you're beyond your 3 minutes.
Okay, right, let's skip over here. So while I am nothing to some, I am currently an active member of the United States Golf Teachers Federation, the United States Golf Association, which is USJ, the International PGA, the United States Chamber of Commerce, the Temple Chamber of Commerce, and the Salado Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a volunteer for the Village of Salado's Tourism Bureau, and I'm a member of the Golf Committee of both the Temple and Salado Chamber of Commerce, and a member of the Marketing Committee and Economic Committee of the Salado Chamber. And I have lots of other credentials, which I will not go into, but I want to say, I am not nobody. I'm not nothing. I'm not a peanut.
No, sir,
Thank
you're
you.
not. Thank you. And I've received your email that you sent Sunday and am working through all of that. So I said, I received the email that you sent me Sunday and I'm working through it. You bet. Kathleen Brown?
My name is Kathleen Brown, and I'm at 64 Runway Lane, have lived here in Temple for 22 years. Good evening, Mayor Davis, members of the Temple City Council. I'm asking you to think long and hard about the consequences of your actions if you bring the Nova Collective or any other organization like this on board. I'm a board certified music therapist and was a member of our American Music Therapy Association for 21 years. About 5 years ago, a faction of members began to ask for addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion. With one of the early manifestations I noticed of it was being asked by what pronoun we wanted to be known and putting them on our name tags at conferences. Then a good portion of our assembly board meetings were addressing inequities we must have made because the officers were all of those with white privilege and asked to apologize. We had a parade of CEOs resign and new ones coming in. Our annual conferences, which were a wonderful way to get continuing education credits to renew our board certifications, were turning into a high percentage of courses on DEI. The association has posted statements on the AMTA, that stands for American Music Therapy Association, website, condemning the Roe Wade decision, as well as Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. On social media, anyone who spoke out against this has been demonized, called all sorts of evil things, and one member I heard of has lost clients because of untrue things passed out about her online. The most recent board assembly meetings ended in resignation and an association turned upside down. Because of all of this, many board certified music therapists have not renewed their memberships in the association, and we are being begged to come back to the fold because of imminent bankruptcy, partially caused because our annual conference for this year has been canceled and the Hyatt Regency in Jacksonville, Florida wants their money. Imagine that. In addition, the association has hired at great expense 2 consultant companies to help dig them out of their predicament. So please think very carefully about the consequences of your actions.
Thank you, ma'am. Rayford?
After that eloquent presentation. I'm Rayford Brown. I'm 64 Runway Lane in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. Mayor Davis, council. I'm going to address some of the communist goals that the Nova Collective seeks to accomplish. Rule 25. Now, these 45 goals of the Communist Party were published in the 1963 Congressional Record. They were taken from The Naked Communist by Cleon Skousen. Rule 25. Break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography, obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. And you've probably seen by now the website, the Facebook page for the Nova Collective. Present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. Rule 40, discredit the family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Those are the 3 most applicable rules of the 45 that we want to talk about. The critical race theory is Marxist poison infecting America. This is from the New American Magazine. The theory is attempting to divide the country along racial lines. During China's so-called Cultural Revolution, mass murdering Chairman Mao and his minions divided the children and the population as a whole into 2 broad categories, black classes and red classes. The black classes were those whose families had owned land or business prior to the revolution, and the red classes, by contrast, were the landless peasants and revolutionary Communist Party soldiers. These were the oppressed class. And of course, the landowners were the oppressors. They divided families, businesses, everything. As an alternative to this, why don't we stay with Christianity? Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always persevere. Love never fails. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dennis Butcher? Dennis Butcher? Is that right?
Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you had to sign in just to come to the meeting. But I'm here anyway.
While you're here, right?
Yeah. Thank you for hearing me. I am also here for the DEI issue here. And I grew up in New York and I moved here, unfortunately, from California 18 months ago. Oh, I forgot. I was supposed to tell you also 2007 North 13th Street is where I live in Temple. And yeah, moved here from California. So there's evidence to the shirt. And just wanted to go ahead and add my opinion. There's been so much stated about the DEI already. And but I just, being from where I've come from, okay, and retiring now to Texas, I finally got it right. Okay. The last thing I want to see is this poison infecting Texas. Okay. That's the best I could say is that DEI, actually divides, it doesn't unite. Okay, it lowers the bar so for achievement. It does so many negative things, and it's a socialist infiltration. Okay, so I just want to appeal to you to be brave, stand up to this woke movement, and let's beat it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Davis.
Ron Davis, 114 Dalganer Temple. I've lived here for 2 years, moved from Indiana. Mayor Brown, Mayor Davis and the council. If the $112,000 Nova Collective survey is completed, how much more will the annual training indoctrination cost? Much more, I'm sure. We're currently in a recession and the worst inflation in 40 years. Stagflation, you could call it. This thanks to the Fed's excessive spending and overregulation. Don't let our town be shaken down by the divisive Nova Collective, Chicago elite, whose 4 young founders claim boastfully online unique superpowers and decades of DEI experience. Further, their online propaganda promotes gender confusion, CRT, abortion on demand, and collectivism, seemingly socialist collectivism. TNC promotes abortion on demand at taxpayer expense. I bet the TNC won't acknowledge that Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood's founder, was a eugenicist and racist who specifically targeted Black communities and Black babies. Sad, disgusting. TNC's mission statement is to make the world a more inclusive place by helping organize, build, and sustain DEI programs. Nice rhetoric, but let's analyze DEI. D, diversity. I predict that diversity slogan will be used as a club. Diversity or else you're canceled. Get in line or shut up. E for equity. Okay, I know equal opportunity is good and American, but equal outcome is a socialist lie, a fantasy. Equal outcome in the socialist worldview is really equal misery, except for the socialist elites who shamelessly enrich themselves. I know, I lived in that environment for several years. I for inclusion. Well, except for those disliked by the left, they must be excluded. Christians, police, patriots, all those with traditional values. The main problem with DEI is that diversity, equity, and inclusivity are not always good, not in every instance. In other words, they are not moral absolutes. Examples of moral absolutes are love, that is agape love, and biblical justice and holiness, etc. The problem with collectivist do-gooders is that they refuse to see the 200 million and counting plus slaughtered by communists, Stalin, Lenin, Mao, and National Socialist, fascist, Hitler. The historical record is against their collectivism.
Mr. Davis, about 30 more seconds.
Okay. The 200 to 300 million because of their rigid ideology. They won't and don't see mankind as created in God's image, created to glorify him, that has a fallen and depraved nature, thus in need of good government with adequate checks and balances. City leaders don't fall for this fancy TNC rhetoric. Their unique superpower nonsense. Don't set us on a reckless moral and financial bankruptcy. I ask and pray that you will make a right decision, respectful of ordinary temple taxpayers and of those who have traditional family values. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. John Barker.
Hello, City Council. I'm John Barker with a 1029 Franklin Circle. A lot of great communication so far. I couldn't decide if I need to go fast or slow. I think I'll just go medium. All right, very good, very good. I was heard of Dave Ramsey. He said that when we're desperate to find a solution, it's when we can make our biggest mistakes. Who is the Nova Collection? You can go on their website and take a look. Look at Facebook if you have the stomach to. But what you won't find there is you won't find Martin Luther King. Judge not a person by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Why is that? I work in the technology and finance industry for the past 20 years. And work for we've seen this come in. Started off once a year, then it was once a month, then it was once a week, and now it's every day. And my question is, we're spending so much time on training and all these things that, when are we going to spend time taking care of business? What's the impact of DEI? According to a recent study in the American Psychology Review, diversity training and diversity evaluations are least effective at increasing the share of white women, black men in management. Analysis of data from over 800 firms over 30 years shows that diversity training and grievance procedures backfire and leads to reductions in the diversity of firms' workforce. So it's kind of opposite when you look at the results. And what is the policy impact? There were some comedians that were scheduled to perform a comedy show Saturday night at Springer Opera House, but it was canceled the night before due to the city's DEI policy. So a response that was definitely not inclusive or diversive, seeing that the two comedians were both Black gentlemen. And what about free speech? More, less? If you've had a chance to look at the Facebook page, don't ask yourself why children need to see drag queens. Ask yourself why drag queens want an audience with our children. Recruitment, growth, grooming. Space is kind of a key word. Space to sexualize our children. So are we going to promote character? And I'll wrap up here. Character or biology. We all know that male chromosomes are XY, female chromosomes are XX. I've had 5 children. When they were born, we didn't know what a few of them were. But of course, hey, is it a boy or a girl? That's what you want to know when it's born. Is it a boy or a girl? On the website, there's male, female, and other. I don't know what other is, but are there better options? I think there were some mentioned here tonight. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Lytle?
Alan Lytle, 504 Paseo del Plata here in Temple. I had quite a few comments in here that have already been stated quite well by others out in the audience, so I'm going to leave it down to the 2 they haven't stated. One, a spokesperson for the DEI Commission and one of our council members used the word equality instead of equity in a recent public article. Also, equality is used in the DEI Commission's mission statement. However, the word equity is part of the commission's title and stated purpose. Unlike equality, equity implies that there's an underlying injustice against a group. So in order to receive equality for that group, they must receive preferential treatment to make up for some past inequality or disadvantage that this group claims to have suffered based on skin color, gender, or sexual orientation. The other thing that hasn't been mentioned tonight that I ran across is while preparing for tonight's comments, I came across the 2021 performance report prepared by the Office of the Performance Excellence here in Temple. It's a very detailed, well-prepared report, shows the fantastic progress that the city is making towards its goals in diversity and equality and equity among all of the city's departments. I believe this report shows that the city staff is doing such a great job meeting these goals that there's no need or reason to hire any outside firm or consultants. The only missing portion of this is letting the public know about this fantastic report. Thank you.
Mr. Rowe?
Good afternoon. It's hard to follow. I've been on a quest, I guess, to get the city to clean up the property, a city property in the alleyway that contains all the city services, trash bins and everything. I've gotten different answers for over 3 years. I finally was told that it did belong to the city. Now I've had 2 other answers that I have here. I'm going to show you this picture. They're supposed to be able to zoom in on this where it can be shown on the video that's been produced today. It's showing the first one that shows the chain link fence and the drive where the tires go down the alley. And they're about 3 foot apart. And there's a gas meter in hid in that growth there. My alley's been cleaned up. I questioned whether the city did it and said they didn't. I don't know. It's always done when I'm not there. The number 4 picture shows that where the survey marker is on my drive going in my alley, in my garage. It's not what the city's told me on different occasions by different people. Judy Morales is supposed to come talk to me tomorrow at 1:30. I look forward to being able to present the things that are concerned to me. There's a wrecked vehicle there that's been there for almost a year now. I've reported it to Track Temple. It shows up as complete. It's still there, still broke. And there's another building that the roof's caved in. I reported it. They said they had 10 days to do something and then further action would be taken. It's been a long time. And I called and asked what the deal was. And they said they've got to get a permit to tear it down. Well, this building was in bad shape when somebody bought it and put 2 duplexes on it. And the hole was in the roof at the time. Nobody can identify that. Need to have some help with getting stuff done and admitting that it's the city property and picking up stuff, tires and beds and everything that's left out in the alley. And the city said they don't do that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Robert Sherwood?
My name is Robert Sherwood. I live at 2425 Burger Road in Temple, Texas. And I'm here to reify all these people that talk about the Nova Collective. Why are we sending them $112,000 in a city that's got so much crime, they can't keep up with it? They have more killings in a weekend than we have in a month. Why are we sending this money? Who's going to benefit? Somebody in the city? If we established our own DEI group, why do we need to have them involved in it? Why don't we just use our own people and talk to our own people? You've got a diversified people right here. I admit they're mostly all retired, probably older, but we've got thousands of people. And you could use that money to send them a questionnaire. Ask them what their problems are. Don't send it to Chicago. I don't understand. It could be better spent helping the people of the city, as it was stated by these people. I'm not as eloquent as they are with facts and figures, but just ask the people what their problems are, why they don't feel included, why they don't feel equity and diversification. I don't see it. I've lived here probably 40 years. I've owned property here. I rent to people. I don't see them as black, white, green, yellow, purple. You pay your rent, you do what you're told, do what you're supposed to do, that's fine. That's all I see. But this agenda that the Nova Collective has is just wrong. And I don't know how that people on the city council can see it as anything else. I mean, our children are being indoctrinated to be something they're not. You send them to school to these teachers. These teachers teach them that they aren't male, aren't female, they're other. There is no other. There's a male and a female, that's all. And your choices in life are your choices, not something we should pay for. And what's driven the city to do this? To set out this contract? Did they talk to us, or do we talk to them? And why? And it's hard the city council meets at 5 o'clock on a weekday. Look in the audience. Most of these people are retired, or you don't see the diversification you want, because all those people are working. And they can't get here because their job requires them to be there. I'm not saying you should have it at the middle of the night. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying you want diversification, you want equality, you want inclusion. You're not getting it by having it in the middle of the afternoon when people are working. And it's hard to get people to come to the meetings when they don't know when they are. I mean, I tried to find out when the meeting was. I finally called and talked to somebody, and they said they're on the second week, the Tuesday and Thursday on the second and fourth week, I believe. Am I correct?
No. First and third Thursday.
First and third Thursday.
Yes.
Okay. I'll stand corrected. But if you try to find it on the website, it's hard to find. And some people don't have that capability or ability. And I'm just thinking along with these other people who talked about the Nova Collective, they're just wrong. And why should we spend our tax dollars and send it to Chicago of all places? Can't we hire somebody local or somebody in Texas that knows our problems? Chicago people don't know our problems.
Need to wrap it up, please, sir.
That's all I've got. I just want to say that I'm against the Nova Collective and the contract y'all are trying to shove down our throat.
Understood.
Thank you.
You bet. David Newsom.
Good evening. My name is David Newsom. I actually live in Little River, Texas, but I pastor Cornerstone Christian Fellowship located 819 South 29th in Temple. So in our congregation, we have, we're a small congregation, but we have folks from all over Temple, Belton, Academy, various communities. And what happens in Temple affects this entire county. What happens in Temple affects this entire Heart of Texas region. Because, you know, really Bell County is becoming so close together that it's hard to separate the communities. But what happens in Killeen affects us and vice versa. So actually, I'm here to say that I don't agree with the hiring of Nova Collective if it's recommended by the DEI Commission to the City Council. And I'm concerned about the $112,000, but what would greatly concern me is the amount of lives that would be negatively affected by this diversity and inclusion if it's accepted by the City Council. It's going to have a profound negative effect upon our children and our grandchildren. One of the things that is said is that because of the lack of inclusion by those who are transgender or whatever it is, however they sexually identify themselves, it's because they're not accepted in their communities. I beg to differ. I believe the reason for a suicide rate being high is because of their confusion in life and their lack of direction in life. And that's not really being judgmental. That's just being making an observation. In the I printed out here on Nova, the Nova Collective, their inclusive language so that they could educate us on how we need to begin to speak. It says practicing gender inclusive language is a powerful way to promote gender equity and reduce binary gender bias in the workplace. It also creates a foundation of acceptance, inclusion, and belonging in an organization. Gender and sex tend to be used interchangeably, but these terms are completely different. Simply put, sex refers to the organs a person is born with, while gender is how a person identifies themselves, which may not necessarily correspond with their assigned organs. I would, you know, these types of organizations are really good at using language to hide what their agenda truly is. And they say an assigned organ. Well, I guess God creates us and he assigns us organs. So I could go with that. A person's gender identity is their concept of self as male, female, both or neither. But it's not their concept. It's not a person's concept of whether they're male or female, but it's God's concept. And God decided who was going to be male and female, but while he was very fearfully, wonderfully weaving them together in their mother's womb. That's in the scripture. Ideas around gender identity and expression are on to speak what Nova said. Ideas around gender identity and expression are nuanced, complex, and ever evolving. Ever evolving, that means we've evolved from just having problems with homosexuality. Now we've got, you just name it, LGBTQ and 500 other things, and they're still evolving. We redefined marriage, which did nothing but bring confusion. There's one woman in the Northeast. I can't
Mr.
remember
Newsom, time's up.
Oh.
Just kind of, bring it in.
Okay, sorry, that went by fast. Usually my messages last longer, so.
You're used to having 20 minutes in a song, aren't you?
Yeah, no, not 20 minutes. So anyway, it's a lot longer than that. Anyway, I just want to say, I'm really concerned how this would have a negative effect upon our young people in the area. It just opens up door more to evil and more confusion. So.
Sure, thank you. Milton. I saw him here earlier. Milton Hensley. Is he? Oh, there he is. Your time doesn't start till you get to the podium. You're fine.
My name is Milton Hensley. I live at 301 Metro Drive. I'm a Christian. I've had many, many prayers concerning this. But Mr. Mayor, tonight is showing America in action. How many places can we come and voice our opinion? And the council will listen to it. And we don't have any fear what we're going to say. But truly, I am embarrassed to come before you concerning Nova Agenda, Nova Collective, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Black Lives Matter, and CRT. A handout is being given, y'all. And it embarrasses me for you to have to look at this handout. It is a byproduct of Nova Agenda. It's a deplorable picture. But this is one of the end products of the Nova Agenda. This is what they are wanting to bring into our town. Homosexuals, transgender, and whatever. In my opinion, we do not need to be spending $112,500 to bring Nova into Temple. My question is, why do we need Nova to run a survey? The survey should be run in-house. Enough said. I am against spending any money to bring a group of subversive groups to our good city of Temple. Have y'all gone online and looked to see what this is? Yes. If you haven't, do it. Don't get your grandkids to do it. It is nasty. We do not need to promote LGBTQIA. What?
Hey, guys.
Yeah, we
Come
don't
on.
need to promote that. It is not the Christian thing to do. And I'm not ashamed to tell you I'm a Christian, to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Milton. Is it Dana Farrar?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Dana Farrar. I live at 306 Mitchell here in Temple. I've been in the area since about 2014 working. I'm here to oppose the DEI situation. This to me is following in the footsteps of Lori Whitehead. That's not something we want here. Have any of you gone on the website and looked at this website? I mean, this is quite upsetting and disturbing. I don't know why we would be thinking about doing something like this here in Temple. I just wanted to voice my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rod Shield. Is that right? Yes, sir. Come on down.
Good evening. My name is Rod Shewell, and I live at 111 North Main Street, number 1002. I'm a Christian, a United States, Texas, and Temple citizen. I've been living in Temple since 2013. And I want to briefly, there's been a lot of good points made already. I want to briefly mention some points right from the website of the Nova Collective that I found yesterday on the computer. And under the title where it's about Nova, it mentions that the Nova founders brought their unique superpowers together to create a change-making organization. That was referenced earlier by somebody else. And then it says,
We are a women-owned BIPOC-led business. And I looked that up, and that means Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Now, the women-owned BIPOC-led indicates that Nova Collective has a predetermined bias for some and against others, based on gender and skin color. And that's not the American way, that's not the Christian way, that's not the Texas way, or the Temple, and it should not be the Temple way. Then continuing at their website in their own words, under how Nova operates, it says Nova is committed to creating a new normal in workplace culture. And under that heading, it says our medical insurance covers gender affirmation benefits. And that brought to my mind immediately, they claim that they're all women owners, and that contradicts the fabricated concept of choosing one's gender and to affirm that non-existent choice. Gender is decided, as it's been said already, gender is decided by God at conception, as confirmed clearly by DNA science. That's not a choice that anybody has to make. And again, how can the women who are the owners of this organization say that they are women and then say that their employees have a choice of whether to be women or not? That doesn't make sense. That's nonsense. And then they also, under this heading, say that they have office holidays, including Election Day, Juneteenth, Indigenous Peoples Day, and they'll update to have Jewish high holidays and Muslim Ides. What about Christmas? What about Resurrection Day, commonly known as Easter? What about Thanksgiving? These are all United States holidays, and Texas and Temple holidays.
Mr. Shule, you need to wrap it up, please, sir.
Yes, sir. And this indicates, again, an anti-Christian bias, along with an illogical, anti-God, anti-science bias by this organization, based on their own words again. And I'll close with this last comment. It says that Nova leverages social identity and multi-partiality in all our work. That's under the heading Our Approach at the Nova Collective website. And that brought to my mind, it would be much better to return to American and Texan identities of one nation under God in unity, and also for Temple, Texas. So I strongly advocate that you reject this organization for the city of Temple.
Sir.
Thank you for your time and hearing these words.
Sanjanet Cross, you're welcome, sir. Sanjanet Crossley.
All right.
Good evening, I'm Mayor and Council and all of you present. I'm Dr. Sanjanet Crossley, and I live at 5102 Sturbridge Drive here in Temple, Texas. And I'm here just to speak on behalf of the renaming of a part of the street for Reverend Roscoe Harrison. I've known Pastor Harrison a long time, knew his community involvement, was involved with organizations with him, in particular Citizens for Progress, of which I'm a president. When we created the organization 22 years ago, he was one of the pastors that my late husband approached to come and be a part of us, looking at how could we improve East Temple because I grew up in East Temple and because we knew that that was an area that had issues economically and otherwise. And he readily agreed to work with us until his schedule got full, as you can imagine. But we know Pastor Harrison has been influential in the city in Belton, which he took great pride in, and also in the county. And he was always instrumental in trying to encourage people to become a part of what needs to be addressed. Like he was always trying to sign you up for Rotary, Kiwanis, somebody, just come do something. And we know that he died doing what he did, and as well as he could do it, and had great influence during the time that he was able to record the history. He loved history, the history of our nation, from Dr. King to others. And so I just wanted you to know that our organization, we greatly appreciate you approving the renaming of part of the street that you're looking at, that but is on the south side of the church, from the MLK to the railroad. We know it doesn't involve a lot of houses at this time, but it would be a great honor for people to never forget Pastor Roscoe and what he wanted to represent, that he was instrumental also in encouraging the Ministerial Alliance to speak up on behalf of the numerous churches that we have on that side of town that are over 100 years old. And we know the churches have been great foundations for our society and will continue to be. So we ask you to remember that when you have an opportunity to vote. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. So Jeanette, that's an easy one. Joe Goodson.
Thank you, Joe Goodson, 501 Paseo del Plata in Temple. And thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mayor and Council. That right there is what we are really all going to be able to agree on. We want to do what's right for this city. And I think that I'm approaching y'all tonight as brothers and sisters. Okay, I don't think that any of you in this council has anything but the best intentions in your heart for this city. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Okay, Tim and I have had some conversations, Mayor Davis, and I have always respected you listening to the people. I have always felt like you listened to me, and I have a mutual respect for you that I carry in my heart. We had an intense conversation the other night because I do have that relationship with you. And I was feeling like I just needed to be honest. You heard me.
Let the record show I gave it back to you too.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, which I wouldn't expect anything less. So I would say that we're at an impasse here, but not one that that needs to go any further or needs to be, construed as an us versus them. I think we need to call this a mistake, perhaps a misunderstanding, and move on. Put this behind us and be a city, because I think that's really what we all desire. And I think we have a strong city here. My wife and I have no roots in Temple, but we've stayed here for umpteen years with our family being in other parts of Texas. And we love Temple. And Temple's not even like other surrounding cities. And people want to come to Temple. I will always appreciate each one of you, your ability to look a person in the eye and hear them out. So I hold in my hand this wonderful flyer that nobody wants, but everybody needs, because this is not going to fly in Temple, and it shouldn't. And this is more community involvement than I've ever seen since I've been in Temple, because we care about each other. And we care about our children, and we see that our country is literally going down the tubes because of some agendas that do not care about our children in the right ways. And so this somehow snuck in, but it needs to sneak out. And I would just really support each one of you as you make this critical decision for our children. I got 18 seconds left, and 16, 14. There's something else I was going to say that was really important. Golly. I know. Boom. I'm going to say this.
Out of time.
I knew I had at least 12 seconds left. Can I-
30 seconds.
Okay, sorry.
30 seconds.
Thank you. See, that's what I love about you too, Mayor Davis. All right. When I was about ninth grade, I was sitting in a barber chair in Highland Park of Dallas. Out of place, had a terrible year, did not fit in there. But I was mad at the world because of all of the experiences that I, as a ninth grader, was having. This older African-American gentleman came over to me who was taking care of the place. And I saw him every time I was there. I didn't know him. He said, "Young man, you look like you're mad at the world." He will never know the impact that he had on my life by telling me the truth. And so for any who thinks that this is unloving, it is absolutely the epitome of love to tell somebody the truth. It's got to be the truth that sets us free. And this is not the truth. So let's get back to the truth together. Thank you.
Bill Brindley.
Neil Brindley. I've lived in Temple, Texas all my life. Thank you, gentlemen, and Miss Kathleen for the facts, and I'm going to supply you with the emotion. I love this town too much to remain silent. I'm here today to tell you what I'm against and what I'm for. I'm against the city of Temple, the city council hiring any radical consulting firm like Nova Collective, period. If Temple is so flush with money, I'm for you reaching out to Dr. Claudette Scott Morgan, who is the CEO of Morgan Scott Management Consultants in Belton. She is a woman of integrity and knows this area better than anyone from out of state ever could. In addition, I'm for broader communication with the citizens of Temple, so they know when city council meetings are before they occur, not after, and how they can make their voices heard during public comments like this. This is awesome. I know y'all are tired of us, but this is America. I'd like to see civics taught again in school and the city actively partnering with the schools so that young people know how they can be an active part in their city. My favorite teacher at Temple Junior College was the late Harold Whittington. During his U.S. government class, he instilled in me the motivation to write my elected officials and the realization that my lone voice could be heard. By improving communication, transparency, and education, there will be no need for a diversity, equity, and inclusion commission or a radical consulting group like Nova Collective, creating problems where none exist and foisting their homosexual agenda on the good people of Temple, Texas. We have seen their social media and we don't like what we see. We are watching the city council closely in this matter, since there are many unanswered questions that have been raised today and many that were not. For example, where did this idea even originate? Why do we need this? We're a good community. So I'm asking you to stop all negotiations with Nova Collective. I don't like the $112,000 price tag, but I wouldn't care if they were free. Do not enter into a partnership with a godless group. Thank you.
Thank you. As a point of fact, it's been brought up a couple of times about the time that we meet, and you know, it's difficult, it's hard for working people, et cetera. I've been on this council since 2013. We've always met the first and third Thursday of every month. This isn't new. We're not hiding anything. We're here the first and third Thursday of every month. It's all posted. It's posted online. And if you have a problem with possibly find this electronically, you can walk right up to one of these doors because it's posted there. Okay. So, you know, if we started at 10 o'clock in the morning, that would affect others, right? So 5 o'clock is what's been chosen. It's nothing new, and people can ask for time off all the time. The last person to speak tonight is Molly Goodson.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know a little bit. My dad was a mayor in Lucas, Texas. So I know what it takes. I know it's
I
hard.
bet he didn't deal with this.
No, he didn't deal with this one, but he dealt with some other stuff
Sure.
about injustice, and he stood on truth. But I do want to say thank you. I was out today. I've been going all over the parks with my kids in the community with every color of skin you could think of. I don't think of that way, but I want to bring that up as a point. And I first want to say thank you to the policemen here for what you do. You're here protecting us. You're protecting them, and we need to give you a hand. Okay, and that I also want to say that if you're white out here and you speak, you're canceled. It doesn't count right now. Because I was told on the DEI committee, I went up afterwards at the meeting, and I went to one of the ladies and I said, she was really concerned. And she said, I said, who is oppressing you? What's going on? Am I missing something? And she said, and she just said, no, I'm having a wonderful life. And she told me she's married to another woman. And so we were talking, we're going down the road. And then she was telling me that the people that spoke last time at that DEI committee meeting, like they're all white. And I said, whoa, I said, why are you bringing up our skin color? I'm offended. You and me are human beings. Why are we doing this? Okay. Another point I want to also bring up is that I'm sorry if there is people that are feeling oppressed in our city, like let's just say terrible injustice, which any shooting that happens in our city and just even by the police need to get a lot of training. That is not a reason to bring DEI. I don't know if that's part of it, but we'll see. Another thing is library. Guys, the DEI has, Nova, let me talk to Nova. They're not here, but you are well represented at the public library. I went during June and looked at all the kids in the junior high. I'm a mama bear, just beside myself. I couldn't even look through the books. These were on special display shelves. I had to take them off one by one. So my kids and other kids that don't want to know about how to have sex, oral sex, and everything else, and pornography, and with whoever or whatever animal, I had to do that. Why? Because I love children. Okay, I get told for checking these books out at the library that I am taking away from other people's, I don't know, like I'm oppressing them because I'm trying to hide this from them. Well, I'm trying not to let kids get pulled into some sex trafficking before it's, like, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm just very upset about this. I do want to say thank you. I love the parks y'all have done. I love. I love Lions Junction. I love the parks. Y'all have done an awesome job. You have brought our community together. And I want to thank you for children and everything. But the library, now the school districts, Temple, Bell County, it's trash. The books in the libraries, trash. Right. It's sick. We should be appalled that we're arousing something in children that should not be aroused until they're married. It's sick. Who is going to stop this? Thank you for your leadership. I'm looking to you to take a stand and do the right thing. And think of the children. Think of the children. Think of the children as you make these decisions. Even if I'm white-skinned, please hear me, okay? Please hear me. I'm a mom, a teacher. I love children. If anybody's getting bullied, I'm going to go stop that. I don't care if they identify whatever they identify. They're human beings made in the image of God. We love people, but we have got to stop this nonsense. And the last thing I want to say is at this point, it is nothing less than an antagonism against at least a large portion of your citizens if you bring this in and these dollars. In the name of inclusion, please listen to us and stop this mistake. And one last thing, I did talk to the lady on the committee and I said, look, I'm all for inclusion. And I am so glad that Roe got overturned, but it didn't do enough. It really didn't do, because in Temple, I can order abortion pills. I can order those pills and I can take them and murder my child in my comfort of my home. So if DEI comes in, I would like to see this money spent to bring a sanctuary city. And I will be happy to be on that committee for the preborn. And that's what I am looking for if this comes in, because they are the oppressed people in our nation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, sir.
I promise I won't take more than 3 minutes.
You're not on the you're not on the list, Davis. Sorry. But we appreciate everyone being here. We truly do. We have heard from everyone here. We've heard everybody on the council's received emails, phone calls, texts, et cetera. So, and to Milton's point, where else could you do this, right? So we very much appreciate the discourse today, and we appreciate everyone that cares very much. So thank you all for being here. All right. To a public hearing. This is the final public hearing to consider adopting a resolution approving the Community Development Block Grant 2022-2023 Annual Action Plan and Budget, including the funding recommendations. Mr.
Good
Pone.
evening. I presented the annual action plan in its entirety at the July 7th meeting. I have the presentation available if you would like to receive it again. If not, I ask that you open the public hearing and consider adopting the plan.
Very good. Councils, anybody need a presentation on that? We visited that last meeting. Okay, then at this time, I will open the public hearing for the annual CDBG action plan. We ask that you step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. I'm looking at you, Alan. You're good? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody on the virtual platform? All right, very good. Then being none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item 3.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Walker. We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Please cast your vote. I'm thinking maybe you guys don't want me to vote. I've got nothing up here.
Want me to cast your vote for you, Mayor?
Yes, I vote in favor of item 3. There we go. Somebody voted for me. Thank you. Item 3 passes 5 votes to 0. Are we just going to take my vote allowed? Oh, I don't mind doing it aloud. That's fine. Whatever's easiest, fastest.
You
Okay.
are about to hear my budget presentation. She probably has plenty of time to fix your things.
Actually, that's true. Everybody sit tight for this one. Moving on to item 4 is a public hearing to receive a presentation by the city manager and conduct a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. And item 5 is to discuss the proposed tax rate. Item A is to consider adopting a resolution scheduling the public hearing on the proposed tax rate for 5 p.m. on August 4th, 2022. That's the first Thursday of August. And item B is to consider adopting a resolution scheduling the adoption of the proposed tax rate for 5 p.m. on August 18th, 2022, which is the third Thursday of the month. Ms. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is our first presentation and public hearing in a regular session regarding our 2023 proposed business plan, which, as you all know, includes our annual budget. The business plan also includes in key parts the city's strategic plan, which lays the foundation for the business plan, as well as our financial plan, which connects the resources necessary to carry out the strategies and programs and initiatives that are included in the strategic plan, the annual budget, which formally appropriates the upcoming year of the financial plan, and our capital plan, which provides for a robust capital improvement program, which allows us to invest in mobility, places and spaces and other areas, utilities and other areas in our community, which we'll talk about in more detail as we go along. So as council knows, this is the fourth year that we have presented the annual budget in the context of a multi-year business plan. We do this so that we are intentional about the direction that the organization is moving. We want to make sure that we're future focused and planning very well for the longer term needs of our community. The City Council in 2019 adopted an updated strategic plan, which, as I mentioned, forms the foundation of our business plan. The strategic plan includes the vision that the council has set for our organization, which is for Temple to be a place that you'll love to call home. The strategic plan also lays out our organizational mission, which is to provide exceptional service without exception. We have 5 organizational values, including commitment, innovation, integrity, accountability, and collaboration. And then we have 5 focus areas that you set for the organization, including high-performing organization, communication and collaboration, places and spaces, smart growth, and public safety. So within those 5 focus areas, we have a total of 10 strategic goals that the council has adopted, including an organization committed to performance excellence, talented and dedicated employees who have a heart for service, an efficient, transparent, and accountable government, an open and responsive, a government that has open and responsive communication with our community, empowered community leaders who foster collaboration, engagement, and participation, beautiful spaces and unique experiences, neighborhoods where people love to live, a city that supports well-managed growth and development to promote a thriving economy, infrastructure and systems that support exceptional services and community growth, and a safe and healthy community. So I would like the opportunity to provide some highlights in the 6-year business plan, and I'll organize my comments in groups of the 5 focus areas. And I'll start with places and spaces. So the proposed business plan, I got ahead of myself. The proposed business plan recommends several additional staffing positions in our Parks and Recreation program to allow us to continue to maintain the facilities, the wonderful parks and recreation facilities that are throughout our community, and to continue to provide for the growth that our city is experiencing. So we do recommend 2 chemical technicians, a total of 7 additional maintenance workers. And remember, this is all over the course of the 6-year plan. A recreation specialist position to help with our after-school programming, an assistant golf professional position, an additional food and beverage specialist at the Mayborn Convention Center, and a maintenance technician to help support the Santa Fe Depot and the Railroad and Heritage Museum. We're also recommending a new event support crew that would help provide, as the title suggests, support to special events throughout the community. You can see there on the right side of the screen a list of just some of the city-sponsored events that happen throughout the year. That's not inclusive of other private events that the city teams help support as well. So this crew would consist of a crew leader, an equipment operator, and 3 maintenance workers. They would help provide day of event support, cleanup after the event, also helping maintain event facilities, show event facilities for those interested in renting and hosting a private event. And also doing preparations for things like, for example, building props for perhaps the Christmas parade or the Bend of the River Christmas events. So there would be a host of duties assigned to this event crew. So that would allow us to divide our parks division into 3 kind of distinct areas: our mowing crew, our maintenance area, which helps maintain our parks and facilities, and then again, this event support team. I'll go back here just quickly. The aquatics crew and that athletics crew are not new programs. Those are existing crews, but we would move them under a foreman, which would then create the event services program in addition to the new proposed events support crew. We're also recommending the business plan continues to recommend a park ranger program be established in a future fiscal year to help us provide additional support services and safety presence in our parks and recreation system throughout the community. We are also recommending a Parks and Recreation Departmental Strategic Plan, which would then be followed by specific facility plans for the Hillcrest Cemetery as well as the Summit Recreation Center. In our library, we're recommending the replacement of the library bookmobile to help enhance our outreach into the community. We are also recommending an additional librarian and a library assistant in future years of the business plan. We are also recommending funding to help us continue to establish our downtown parking management program as we anticipate and look forward to the completion of the 2 new parking garages in downtown Temple. This would allow us funding necessary to implement technology and necessary staffing to help us manage our parking asset in the downtown area. One of the programs that I know I personally am very excited about, and I think one where council shares my excitement and passion, is our Love Where You Live neighborhood planning program. This program began in 2019. The idea here is that we've identified 18 unique neighborhood districts within the core of our community. These are our neighborhoods that are older neighborhoods, some of the original neighborhoods within the community. And in many cases, these neighborhoods need reinvestment and revitalization to help increase the vitality and the vibrancy of our community as a whole. So our neighborhood planning program includes 2 key elements. What we're doing here is we are developing an individual neighborhood plan for each of these 18 districts. We're well underway of this program right now. We've got several plans that have been completed, several more in progress, and then several more to go in future years. Additionally, to help us support our housing reinvestment strategy and to enhance our community development program, we are recommending to continue to leverage our CDBG funds, as Brittany just covered with you. So we're recommending an additional grant coordinator position in a future year to work alongside her and help us seek additional grant funding to help supplement and enhance our programming that we're able to offer in our community. We're also recommending an additional housing resource coordinator in a future year. We're recommending the continued funding for our community enhancement grants and our strategic partner grants, which allow us to leverage funding with other organizations in the community to help us provide more and enhanced services to our residents. We're recommending to continue the grant match funding for the home repair program, which allows us to tap into resources from the state to provide affordable housing for our lower and moderate income residents. We are recommending, as a next step of our housing reinvestment strategy, to conduct a market value analysis in a future fiscal year. And we are recommending, again, as I mentioned, to continue to leverage the funding available to us from the Community Development Block Grant to continue our successful programs, including our housing improvement program, our demolition program, and our code compliance program, and other important programs that are funded through that grant source. We're also recommending that the social navigator position be accelerated from FY26 to the upcoming fiscal year. This position will help us implement the homelessness and mental health strategic plan that is currently underway. And so as we anticipate wrapping that strategic plan up, as a reminder, that's a partnership between the city of Killeen, Bell County, and the city of Temple. And as we anticipate having that plan completed and come forward for your adoption in the next few months, we want to make sure we have the resources in place so that we can begin implementation of the strategies that are identified in that planning effort. We are also recommending startup funding be allocated for the new Temple Revitalization Corporation, which, as council knows, will help us carry out our community development goals and to help bolster our ability to provide revitalization efforts and affordable housing to our residents. We talked a little bit about this in more detail at our work session today, but the business plan does recommend a Places and Spaces capital improvement program, which would provide funding that is necessary to implement capital projects that have been identified throughout the various neighborhood plans that have been completed to date, as well as the Parks and Recreation and Open Space Master Plan that was completed a few years ago. So this is an allocation of a total of $75 million that is proposed as a certificate of obligation program. And while we have an initial list of projects that we shared today, that list is continuing and will continue to be vetted as we move forward. But this would provide us funding to begin implementing our neighborhood plans, as well as our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. In the focus area of communication and collaboration, you all have seen this picture before, but it is, do not adjust your eyesight. It is blurry. And a few years ago, this was probably the very best picture you could find if you did a web search for the city of Temple. One of the things that we heard very clearly from the city council when we conducted our strategic planning sessions in 2019 is that our area of greatest room for improvement and opportunity for improvement was in communications, both to our existing residents as well as to potential future residents and businesses that might hope to make Temple home. So in collaboration with the Temple Economic Development Corporation, we conducted an analysis and determined that we needed to create a centralized marketing communications department to really help us implement a strong, strategic, and cohesive communication strategy. So I'm just showing you a few examples of the work that we've produced in the last couple of years since we've created the consolidated program. Lots of additional ways for us to communicate to our citizens that didn't exist prior, including text messaging, apps, social media presence, newsletters, and written brochures and materials as well. Our goal is to make sure that we are able to reach people where they prefer to receive their information. So we are recommending a couple of additional positions over the course of the business plan to help us continue to enhance communication. One of those positions is a marketing specialist that would help us prepare videography and photography that could help continue to bolster our ability to share the great things that are happening within the community with our residents. We're also recommending a community engagement specialist that would help us to provide additional opportunities for our residents to interface with the city so we can collaborate and share information and provide a stronger, more connected community. So we also, in addition to the two positions I just mentioned, the business plan also recommends an additional public relations coordinator in a future year, as well as a webmaster. A position recommended in a future year includes a government relations manager that would help us to have strong relationships and to advocate clearly for the needs of our community at the state and federal level of governments, as well as with other regional governmental and quasi-governmental partners throughout our area. In the focus area of smart growth, first, before we talk about growth, about what plans we have to address, making sure that we're implementing growth in a way that's strategic and smart, let's first confirm that, yes, we are growing community. We have had over 1,000 housing starts each year for the last few years. Our housing starts are up 12% year to date from last year, and we've seen a 64% increase overall since 2017. So to help us manage that growth in a way that is strategic and well managed, there's a few things that we're recommending. Council will know that in the last several months, you have adopted an updated comprehensive plan, which is really a growth and development strategy for our community. The way that we implement that comprehensive plan in large part is through an update to the Unified Development Code, which provides the regulatory framework for the implementation of what's proposed and what the goals were included in the comprehensive plan. So that's a very large project, and we are recommending that we have some outside assistance in completing that, as well as a senior planner position that would provide the in-house expertise to both guide us through the update to the Unified Development Code, as well as be the champion for the remaining items of implementation in the comprehensive plan. We're also recommending several additional positions in development services to continue to provide necessary support to our city as we grow. We are recommending a building inspector position be accelerated from where we originally planned it in 27 to the upcoming year, as well as a plans examiner position in the fire department, a permit technician, a planning manager, and a business navigator position in a future year in the business plan. For many years, we've had a very successful partnership with the Temple Economic Development Corporation, who is contracted with the city to provide incentive negotiation and industrial marketing services, and the business plan continues to recommend funding that partnership. We have almost just under $472 million in capital improvement projects underway currently. And those projects range from reinvestment zone projects to projects in our utility system, mobility projects, facilities, and other, including drainage, equipment, parks, and land acquisition. The business plan recommends an additional almost $370 million in capital improvements. Again, you can see those areas are broad, including additional investments in our utility system, in our mobility system, the places and spaces capital program we've talked about earlier, as well as public safety facilities and equipment as well. The business plan recommends $94 million in mobility, in funding for our mobility capital improvement program. Of that, $50 million is a placeholder to address projects that we will recommend and prioritize out of our recently completed mobility master plan. The business plan also recommends the continuation of our enhanced pavement management program, which would allow us to to gradually work our way up to the recommended 1.75 in operational preventative maintenance for our streets and roadway networks, which would allow us to, in addition to the major maintenance like mill and overlay that we currently perform, would allow us to do slurry seals and similar treatment to our roads, which is a more minor maintenance, but is a much lower cost and helps extend the life and the condition of our roadways much further than if no maintenance is performed. We're also recommending several additional mobility maintenance related crews, including a concrete crew, which would allow us to have an in-house opportunity to fill in and repair deteriorated sidewalks, make sidewalk connections that are necessary, repair curb and gutter sections throughout the community, and many other projects of that nature. Incredibly high priority that we are recommending accelerating from FY25 to this upcoming year. We're also recommending an alley and right-of-way maintenance crew, an additional street patching crew, an additional forestry crew, which is a fancy way of saying tree trimming crew, an additional sign crew, and an additional street reconstruction crew. And that's over the course of the business plan. We're also recommending $150 million in capital improvement program projects in our utility program. A couple of major projects include the expansion of both the Temple Belton wastewater treatment plant as well as the Dozier Farms wastewater treatment plant. Several large trunk sewer lines, as well as to help us continue our efforts to reduce our sanitary sewer overflows. We're also recommending several crews in our utility services to help us maintain our utility system, including 3 water maintenance crews, 3 additional sewer or wastewater maintenance crews, 2 water operator positions as we look to bring on the expansion of the membrane treatment plant in next year. We would look to add additional operators to manage that plant, an additional foreman and an assistant plant director to help provide management and supervision of our what will be 4 total water and wastewater treatment plants. We're recommending several additional solid waste routes throughout the course of the business plan, including additional residential garbage and recycling routes, roll-off routes, brush and bulk routes, and front load routes throughout the 6-year plan that would allow us to continue to provide service to our community as we continue to grow. We're also recommending in a future year a litter crew, which would help maintain our alleys and rights of ways free of trash and debris. Additional positions in our solid waste division that are recommended include 2 customer service representatives to help provide the necessary support for both expanded services as well as the new solid waste complex. One of those customer service representatives would serve as a scale attendant at the new solid waste facility, which when I was briefed on this in our budget hearings, staff, I definitely heard as skeleton. So it took me a few minutes to catch up with Justin that he was saying scale attendant and not that he was asking that's to fund a skeleton. So a scale attendant, very important distinction. We're also recommending an additional recycling assistant, which would provide support for our recycling program and also allow us to implement recycling at our multifamily properties, which currently don't have. 2 maintenance workers within the solid waste division to help maintain containers, a heavy duty auto technician to help provide preventative maintenance services and serve as a liaison between the division and our fleet services division in the important maintenance of our fleet to make sure our trucks are up and running and able to provide service to our community. We're also recommending 3 additional swing driver positions. This is just to continue to have the correct number of swing drivers as we continue to add routes so that if drivers are sick or on vacation, we have drivers to step in and continue to provide services to our community. Public safety focus area. We are recommending a total of 15 additional police officers to help increase our patrol division. This would allow 2 important things. One, it would allow us to increase our patrol districts from the current 8 district system to the proposed 10 district system. You can see in what's now if on the left hand of the screen, District 8, Patrol District 8 is a large geographic area. And as West Temple continues to build out and become much more densely populated, that area really needs to be broken down into smaller patrol districts. We're also recommending in the areas that we receive the highest calls for service to also have additional patrol district in those areas to increase response or decrease response time rather, and increase officer and resident safety. The other important thing that this would do for our department is allow us to transition to 10-hour shifts. This is an important initiative because our current or many of our current officers are on 12-hour shifts, which tend to, by the time everything is said and done, end up being a 14 or a 15-hour shift, which is difficult from you want to be your best and brightest. You're doing a very important and very critical and can be very dangerous job. We don't want our officers to be in a place where they're fatigued. We also want to make sure that we have ample time for training and also have some overlap in times where we experience our highest calls for service. This would allow us to have additional resources available to respond during those times. So this is proposed as a 3-year process to get us to those 15 officers, and that would accomplish both of these goals, 10 districts and 10-hour shifts. So 10-10. We're also recommending additional resources in our community policing program to help expand our ability to perform neighborhood and district policing specific and our overall community engagement and the very important work that our COPS unit or community-oriented policing unit performs. We're recommending additional community service technicians, which these positions are very critical in the department. They provide both dispatch services for non-emergency calls, as well as serve as record technicians for the department. So really critical jobs for our organization. We're recommending an additional criminal investigation unit to help us have the resources necessary to continue to investigate and solve property crimes as our community continues to grow. We're recommending additional training officers for the department. Training is obviously a huge priority, something that I know Chief Reynolds takes very seriously, as do I. So as we bring online the new training facility and have a much more robust training program, we're requesting some additional officers to help support that program. We're also recommending 2 additional crime scene technicians. These are civilian positions, so not sworn officer positions, but they're a force multiplier. They allow, they come in and help support, obviously collecting important information and evidence at the scene of a crime so that our officers can then respond to other calls for service. We currently have 2 crime scene technicians, and they are fantastic. They do an excellent job. We just need more resources to cover the really what to really achieve what we can with that program. And then we have one additional staffing phase of the Violent Crime Enforcement Squad, which is a unit that is very proactive in nature in going and solving violent crime events and making sure that we keep our community safe. So there's 2 additional police officers that will fully staff that unit. That has been a multi-year staffing initiative. So if you were keeping up with all of that, that's 40 additional positions in the police department over the 6-year plan.
That's an addition. If we can add the number that we're down currently to that 40? Or
yes, we have approximately 19 vacancies.
Always a challenge.
Yes.
It's the 40 plus the 19 or the 40 including the 19?
40 is addition.
In addition.
In addition, yeah, to what is authorized.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I know council knows this, but we're working very hard. You all have been very supportive. We've addressed some really significant compensation needs over the last year or 2. We've got a very proactive recruitment strategy, and it is a difficult environment nationwide for recruiting law enforcement officers. But I think a lot of the pieces that we're putting into place we are seeing progress, and I think we will continue to see progress as we move forward. So thank you for your support in those efforts.
Not only in numbers, but in my conversations with Chief, also in the quality of the cadets or the
Absolutely.
trainees.
Yes.
So,
and I think it bears out in the numbers too, both, and Chief has shared the same with me, that when the last 9 officers that we hired, the final step in the hiring process is an individual interview with the police chief. And he said that those 9 interviews were some of the highest quality interviews he's ever conducted in his career. And it also, I think, bears out in the number, like when you, so as a reminder, as a civil service community, we have an open call for people who might be interested in becoming a police officer. Their first step is to come take, well, they have to register for, and then come take a test, a written exam, and then pass that exam, and then go on to the physical component of the hiring process, and then background checks, things like that. So it historically had been very common for us to have, but I'm just going to make up numbers, but say 100 people sign up, only 25 come, and only 10 pass. Now we're seeing, we're still not seeing huge numbers necessarily take the test, but we're seeing an impressive pass rate. So I think that speaks to the qualifications and the quality of those that are interested. They are high quality candidates. So still work to do, but making progress.
and the recruitment strategy is working. That's the point.
I think I'll also take the opportunity to say here that people want to work in an environment where they're valued. And I think the council has sent a very strong message to our department that the police department is valued here. And so I think Chief Reynolds is a very strong leader as well. And so that makes a big difference in, it's not always just about the bottom, the compensation. There's other factors for sure that come in. And then talking about this next topic, the public safety capital improvement program, which will address some of our training needs. I think that will also enhance our attractiveness for people to want to come join our department who are interested in law enforcement. Right now, what we have going on is this. So this is our current training facility for our police department. It's about a 40-year-old facility, not the newest technology, Amy. So our proposed capital improvement program would allow us to expand the current public safety training facility that is adjacent to the airport. It would add a simunition shoot house, an indoor shooting range. It would add additional training props and scenarios for our fire department inside the existing training tower. It would allow us to add a driving training facility that definitely will be helpful for our police and fire departments, but also will be very useful for public works. I think you guys have heard me make this comment before, but if you put all of the miles that our solid waste department drives in a year and you put it end to end, they could drive to the moon and back 2 times. So they drive a lot. So having an area that we can make sure that we're training and keeping our employees and our residents safe is important. And it would also allow for the expansion of the animal shelter, additional kennel space, conditioning the current kennel space, and reconfiguring the areas to flow better and to provide an enhanced experience for adopting out the animals that are in our care. We're also recommending the addition of 2 what we call squad units. That's the smaller vehicle on the right side of this image. That this unit allows us to provide responses that, if you've got a medical call or a brush call, it provides some more specific response capacity than the traditional engine, which you see on the left, which is your typical response vehicle to a structure fire. This also provides the staffing for these squad units. And we anticipate that the units would go in the southernmost station and a western station to help provide additional reliability and response capacity to those areas of our community, which we're seeing significant growth. We're also recommending that we divide the community into 2 fire response districts. The general rule of thumb is about eight response units can be safely managed by a single battalion commander. We're right on that cusp right now. So as we continue to add additional response capacity, we need to start planning for having a battalion commander on kind of where this is not a final map, but just to give you the general idea. For example, one on the west side of I-35 and one on the east side. We also have plans for the replacement of several fire apparatus, including engines and other response vehicles. We are getting very close to bringing a recommended fire master plan to you for review. And that we do anticipate that within the planning window of our 6-year plan, we're going to need to most likely plan for an additional fire station. So we do have a placeholder in the business plan for some additional staffing that would allow us to have the operational cost. The exact location and the timing of that is still to be determined as we wrap up the fire master plan. We will let that guide our decision making there. We have additional positions proposed in animal services, both field officers as well as staff in the adoption center and the animal shelter to continue to meet the needs of our growing community. We are also proposing additional code compliance resources to help us to continue to provide enhanced proactive code compliance and really help us to support the work we're doing in our Love Where You Live neighborhood planning program and continue to make progress in the vibrancy and the revitalization and safety of our community. And then the last focus area that I want to that I'll highlight a few things is high performing organization. So we are pursuing accreditation for all 4 of our 4 largest departments. So parks, public works, police, and fire all have specific programs with agencies that they're aligned with. So we are working on that. That allows us to make sure that we are using best practices, that we are doing things in a way that's efficient, that is that's effective, that is the best use of our resources. So it's not about obtaining it's more about the process that we go through and the improvements that we make than the arriving at the certification. But it's a very effective process for us to go through with self-reflection and understanding how we can make improvements to do what we do better. We're also recommending a customer service excellence program with the addition of a team member who would help us develop and implement a very robust and thorough customer service excellence program, which I know is a high priority for the City Council. We're also recommending some additional positions that would provide us with professional FBO staffing at our airport. These positions would include customer service representatives as well as an FBO manager as recommended by the airport's fixed-based operation, which is FBO strategic plan. We've been making several investments in technology to continue to do what we do more efficiently and to provide access and information to our community and our residents. We have several large technology projects that are still on the horizon, including probably of significant note, our police records management system, which you all approved recently and will be a major major focus of implementation. As you recall, that is a county plus wide consortium that we've been able to develop so that all of our law enforcement agencies in this area will be on the same system and able to share information. And the city of Temple was the leader in that effort, and thus we are serving as the host agency. So lots of work for Kelly and Brandon and teams as we move into this upcoming year. We also have allocation for our facilities so that we can continue to maintain high quality facilities. This includes an additional building maintenance tech position in the plan, as well as developing a master plan for each of our city-owned facilities where we would evaluate any necessary repairs or maintenance or improvements that might be needed in each facility to improve its function or efficiency. And so that is recommended in the business plan as well. We also are recommending to continue our investment in capital equipment, which allows us to routinely replace our equipment so that we are able to provide services to our community and do so in a way that doesn't come with hefty mechanic and repair bills to aging equipment. We do have some additional resources recommended in the finance department to help us continue to provide strong financial management, financial, our fiscal responsibility, our fiscal soundness is the foundation of what we do. If we are not fiscally sound, everything I just talked about matters not. So this is a very important area, and we want to make sure we continue to add the resources so that we are able to continue with effective management of the thing that we've been entrusted with, which is public funds, and we take that very seriously. We've also talked a little bit about this today in work session, but the final area that I just wanted to highlight is our goal around being an employer, or our strategy around being an employer of choice. Again, as a reminder, our organizational mission is to provide exceptional service without exception. We are a service-based organization. Service is what we do. We provide services to our community with very little exception. We don't make things. We don't produce things. We don't sell things. What we're here for is to provide services. And we do that through our employees. So if we are to achieve our mission of providing exceptional service to our community, we have to find the ways that are necessary to attract, retain, develop our employees and get the best and the brightest here in Temple to provide services to our amazing community. And there's a lot of things that go into that. There's not one silver bullet. There's not just do this one thing and all will be well. It involves making the organization a place where people want to work, where employees feel connected to a mission, a greater good, which we have an excellent opportunity to do here because we do such amazing work to help residents. But it also involves things like compensation and benefits, which we've talked about, the general government compensation implementation in the work session. So that is also included in the business plan. So that's a summary of the entire 6-year business plan to hone down into the proposed budget for FY 2023, the upcoming fiscal year. The total budget is presented at just over $214 million, which is a slight decrease from the FY 22 adopted budget. The general fund revenue sources include sales tax, which is the single largest source of revenue, followed by property tax, and then solid waste fees or charges for service. Expenditures, as we mentioned in the workshop, especially in the general fund. And again, going back to we are here providing services and our employees are the ones that provide it. So personnel costs are the largest expenditure in the general fund. This proposed budget is supported by an estimated property tax rate of 62.35 cents. This proposal is the best information that we had when we filed the budget. We have since received the certified roll. So this was based on an estimate from before we had received the certified roll. It is hot off the press, so I can't tell you yet. Tracy and her team are still working through, but I could tell you that I think I can safely say it would be no more than 62.35. So we will provide that update as soon as we are able to confirm what we can actually propose. Which again, so a decrease of 1.65 cents at a minimum. The budget does propose a temporary fuel surcharge for solid waste services. You can see in yellow the City of Temple's solid waste rates with that temporary surcharge included. And you can see our peer cities' current rates. This doesn't include anything that these other cities may propose in rate adjustments for this upcoming year. But you can see that we remain competitive with our peer communities. In our water and wastewater fund, total expenditures are presented at just over $54 million. Unlike the general fund, our single largest area of expenditure here is in operations, just with the projects and probably also the contract for services we have for our wastewater treatment plants. We are proposing a adjustment to both water and wastewater rates for the upcoming year. You can see in blue the City of Temple's proposed rates as compared to the current rates of our peer cities. Again, this does not include any adjustments that those cities may contemplate, consider, or approve in the upcoming year. So we are still competitive there. And then just as a reminder, not proposing impact fees, but just to remind council that most of our peer cities are also supported by what's called impact fees, which is paid at the development stage by the developer or home builder and adds to the cost of purchase of a home, but also supports capital programming in the utility fund. We do not have impact fees. So while we are still very competitive in our utility rates, we also are very affordable in not having impact fees. So all of our operations and capital programming is supported by our utility rates and not impact fees. So that is my overview presentation, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Council, any questions? It's a lot, but thank you for that. I've said it before. I think the strategy of 5-in-1 or 1-in-5, I guess is what we call it, is so helpful because it helps us project. I mean, a lot of times there are many cities that have no idea how many officers they may need in the future. And this way we can look forward. Yeah. This way we can look forward and realize what the need is and prepare for it today. So. Yeah.
This is not a question, just a comment. First of all, I appreciate those of you who came earlier for staying to hear this, because I think it gives you a sense of what the City of Temple is about. And this is not a slipshod operation at all. You can tell the city manager, the finance staff, and everybody puts a lot of work into this. And secondly, we didn't have any questions because this isn't the first time we've seen this.
And it's not the last.
Yeah.
They love it. They just love it.
Yeah.
She loves it.
Yeah, she does.
It's her favorite thing all year.
That's true.
Ours too.
Yes, that's very good. Very good.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Myers. Council, no questions? Everyone good?
Good.
All right, then at this time, I'll open the public hearing on item number 4. Mr. Lytle? We can count on you. Thank you, Mr. and Ms. Brown.
I have just one simple question, and then a question.
State your name and address. You know the routine.
I will. Alan Lytle, 504B, Paseo del Plata. Item 3, did it have to have a motion in a second? Or did you just vote on it? You kind of skipped that. Don't skip it on item 5. Is item 5 included in the public hearing?
We had a motion in a second on item 3.
Oh, you did? I just
Yep.
didn't hear it. I'm sorry, my bad.
Yes, sir. Nope, that's all right.
Is item 5 included in this public hearing, or do I need to wait till next August, till August?
Item, no, actually, this is the public hearing. I think I said item 4.
You five.
Okay, yes,
The-
I'm
the
sorry. I
rates, the
misspoke.
rates.
Yes, sir. My
Is
mistake.
that, can I speak on that as
Yes,
well?
please.
Okay, because that also has an open public hearing next week, next month.
Yes, sir.
So first question I have about the budget, and I don't quite understand, is how come the expenses total and the revenue don't match? It appears the budget says we're gonna spend a little more than we're actually gonna get.
Yep,
So I don't
that's,
quite
Tracy doesn't
understand
like the
that.
way I explain this, but
It is in our fiscal policies. We budget revenues conservative and expenditures conservative too. And when we have fun, council adopted financial policies allow you to use fund balance to balance the budget in the next year. And the 4 uses that
and that's because there is surplus. Typically,
Surplus.
this is the budgeting
Okay, I just-
process.
It's
That's
not in that
Surplus left.
as a,
Right.
as a-
I don't like to use the word surplus, but revenues exceed expenditures.
yeah.
And the
But it-
budget,
That's an account.
and the 4 categories, main categories are for capital expenditures, grant matches, SIS funding, and I can't think of there's one more, I can't think of it at the moment. Capital, SIS, grant matches. I'll think of the other one in just a second.
That's all right. You can tell me later. It's
It
Just
used to
that,
be,
that,
yeah.
that explains. I knew the money was there. I just didn't.
the
was
way
used to
I
seeing it on the.
Tracy
on the
doesn't
front.
like me to say this. The way I look at it is like if I were going to pay cash for a car,
Mhm.
then I might save up, I might not be able to save it up all in 1 year. So, you have that year when I bought that car, it may look like I spent more money than I made, but it's because I was preparing
Right.
to purchase it with cash instead of using a loan.
I understand.
This isn't the federal government. We have to balance every
Why?
year.
They don't.
And also remember that you were looking at a 5-year.
No, this is just looking at just the 1 year
Okay, you were.
budget.
referring just to
Yeah,
that part.
just the 1 year
Sorry.
spending part. Okay, so since I can't talk about the rates, I'd like to get everybody here mad at me. I don't think you should reduce them. I know that you can reduce them to meet your budget for next year, but just in case, the contingencies. If you've already got it set at 64 cents,
Yes, sir.
leave it there. It's harder to get it back up there to convince the voters to give it back to you than it is to just keep it, put it in a fund to take care of more demolition of houses or homeless or something, but don't reduce the rate.
State doesn't let us do that.
But
There's some requirements around,
yeah, there's, if it-
3.5%.
if that 64 cents next year exceeds the rollback, I know that, and so, but hopefully I wouldn't think it would. So just a suggestion.
Trying to start fighting here now.
Yes, I know. As I said, they liked me earlier, but not anymore.
You're not a politician, are you?
I'm not running for office.
There you go.
Thank you
That
much.
might be a first to have
I
someone
know.
come and stand
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
public hearing and advocate for not
yeah.
reducing the tax rate.
Let the record show that was Alan Lytle that said that. Very good. Thank you, sir. It's interesting, but we're not going to let this run off the rails. No, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to step to the podium and state your name and address for the record? Okay. Anybody on the virtual platform? So I am closing the public hearing on item number 4. I think I flip-flopped on that a minute ago. That's not good for politicians. But I'm closing the public hearing on item number 4. Item 4 does not require action by us, but item 5 does. So council, I will entertain a motion. If there's no further discussion on 5 amongst the council members, I will entertain a motion on item number 5.
Can we do A and B both? Can you do A and B both, one motion?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I should have said that. So this is to entertain a motion on item 5A and 5B.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 5A and B to consider public hearing for the proposed tax rate on August 4th and August 18th at regular council meeting, both at 5 p.m.
Second to motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Williams. Council, please cast your vote. Item 5 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are to be considered routine by the city council and may be enacted in one motion. Any council member, if they wish, can request that a item be removed from the consent agenda for a separate discussion and vote. During workshop, there were no items that we wish to pull. Is that still the same? Very good. Then I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda, which is items 6A through 6F.
I make a motion for approval for the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Morales. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, please cast your vote. Item 6 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to the regular agenda. It's the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a rezoning from agriculture to single-family 2 zoning district on approximately 95.27 plus or minus acres situated in the Maximo Merino 11 League Grant Abstract number 14, Bell County, Texas, located on the north side of East FM 93, approximately half a mile east of the intersection with South Fifth. Mr. Chandler.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. And just to remind you, because this is the 95.27 acres that are proposed for rezoning, looks familiar, and that's because this is a recent voluntary annexation. WBW, they're the property owners and the developers. And so their intention is to expand, effectively expand their Alta Vista neighborhood on the other side of the railroad tracks to provide this, a similar product along FM 93. And I'll just be completely upfront here and let you know that even though single family 2 is requested, we're not recommending that. So we're going to end up recommending single family 1 with a PD, and we'll explain why as we go through the presentation here. Looking at the zoning map, you can see to the left, Alta Vista is subject to a plan development single family 2, and also just a plain single family 2 rezoning. Looking at the future development plan, residential and neighborhood services, so still compliant with our comprehensive plan, that element. Utilities are available in terms of sewer and water. And so the big question is in terms of compliance with a thoroughfare plan. Of course, 93 is a major arterial. And so you're also seeing a proposed community collector in orange. And if that community collector connected to an existing street, such as Old 95, and didn't have vacant property between, that the developer could control and build a connection, then single family 2 would be fine by staff. However, the sole access would be to FM 93. And so staff has been concerned about that level of density, 5,000 square foot lots versus 7,500. And so just in a few, we'll tell you how we plan to address that. And here's just another shot looking at the aerial in the adjacent Alta Vista subdivision, and then of course the railroad in between.
So no connectivity is available between the existing Alta Vista. And so here's some photos of the site looking north and then looking at the farmland directly to the south. On the left, you can see the existing Alta Vista neighborhood. And then on the east, facing east along FM 93, so really looking southeast. 65 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. We received 3 responses in disagreement, 0 in agreement. And so staff and P&Z at the July 5th meeting, which they by a 5-to-1 vote, recommend approval of the rezoning to planned development single family 1, subject to the following conditions. And I should also point out that a representative from WBW, Mr. Mike Wilson, is here as well, and he attended P&Z, and we've been working closely with him. So 3 conditions: a site plan review by Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council for any phase. A traffic impact analysis is required, and limiting that first phase to 150 dwelling units, which matches fire code, but just having that that nexus between the two, so that additional dwelling units are phased supported by a traffic impact analysis and be approved as a modification to PD conditions. So once again, P&Z also recommended approval of that, and the applicant is very aware of that, and I think understands the concerns, but certainly we could hear from him as well.
Council, any questions for Mr. Chandler?
Yes, ma'am.
Brian, can you go back to the next, the last slide, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I shouldn't have tried to anticipate what
that's
you're going to
okay.
say. I should just listen.
Oh, okay, good. The traffic impact analysis after approval is, after this presumed approval today, that traffic impact analysis is then required for phase 2?
For phase 1, and ultimately I forget, Mike, perhaps you can help me out in terms of communication with TxDOT. I mean, TxDOT's going to require traffic impact analysis anyway.
Right.
And so this would allow you all to have that, the ability to review that traffic impact analysis during their site plan review for phase 1 and subsequent phases. So if they were to do a full traffic impact analysis for the entire 95 acres, then really would just need to be shown as phases and broken out accordingly within their. Yes, ma'am.
The whole 95 acres is more than one phase. Will be more than one phase.
Yes, it would have to be,
Okay.
because yes.
Right, I just want to be clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Second question, why approve anything before the traffic impact analysis?
That's a great question, and staff's thought was to be able to at least just show that a single family 1, that density, it's in line with our comprehensive plan. We support that, but there are still questions in terms of what 93 can support, whether that future community collector can be built, and not just be built within the neighborhood, but ultimately connect to old 95.
Right.
So that's a very valid question.
Well, I'm left in a quandary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certainly pro growth,
Sure.
but what if the traffic impact, what if we approve everything tonight and then the traffic impact analysis, and that's done by TxDOT?
It would be reviewed by TxDOT. They would have to hire a private consultant engineer.
The developer hires a consultant.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so
then that's-
TxDOT, and I'm sorry to interrupt, TxDOT would normally review that. Of course, we would typically get a copy But we, if the zoning were approved without the PD, then they're really, we don't have a whole lot of say in how that develops beyond the zoning stage and the plat stage.
Well,
So-
what if we approve it?
Mhm.
I'm sounding terribly negative. I apologize for
No,
that. I
these
just
are very good
really
questions.
confused. What if we approve it and the traffic impact analysis says it can't support the proposed collector? What then happens? And what if the traffic impact analysis is negative about however many numbers you listed for single family homes coming off onto 93? What happens then?
Well, if we look at it from how TxDOT typically does it, then they will often recommend some kind of mitigation, such as acceleration or deceleration lanes, or a center turn lane where that it doesn't currently exist. And so the right of way would have to be dedicated as part of that. And so we, that's an option too.
So that right of way dedication at that point, if all those negatives were to occur, that right of way designation would be done out of the existing 95 acres by the developer?
Typically
And who would pay for those lanes?
the developer.
The developer,
So who is here, by the way?
right?
So the request is SF2.
Yes,
Part of the PD is moving to SF1
correct,
along with these three conditions.
correct.
And there's still questions around the requirements of the TIA and what those results may end up being.
Sure.
If I can be blunt, are we shoehorning something? Are we moving something along maybe a little faster than we should? And if so, why?
I wouldn't say, I mean.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm asking.
I think it's a question for you all, certainly for us. We had an applicant that, purchased property to annex, and we're trying to make it work.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that it will. That's why y'all get paid the big bucks.
Yep. Is David walking up to speak, or? I'm wondering if maybe we need to hear from the developer and kind of the thoughts around all of it.
Very, very good question. I'm sorry, sir.
I'm wondering if we need to hear from the developer's representative and their thoughts around all of that, because it seems like we're working hard, and we all know 93 is a difficult road anyway. When you get down around 5th and 31st. So your thoughts?
Yes, Mr. Mike Wilson.
Thank you, Brian. Mike Wilson with WBW Development at 109 West 2nd Street in Georgetown, Texas. The TIA has always been on the table. It's something that we anticipated, going in on this project. Met with Richard Rangel at TxDOT, and we've set up the parameters for that traffic impact analysis. The annexation and the zoning was for the benefit of trying to evaluate the property for smaller lots versus the ag component. The ag component has a much larger lot requirement. So the process of studying that with TxDOT, we needed the smaller lots to take forward to them.
What's the zoning across the railroad tracks?
SF2.
With the plan development.
But it has more access to get out of the
Correct.
subdivision. Yeah.
And 93.
Let me ask a question while we're on this. If you kind of flip this thing and made the number one requirement, the traffic impact analysis, and found out whether TxDOT's going to sign off on it, what you have to do to get that done, and that everybody's comfortable with it. If that's done, then a site plan gets reviewed, and then you have your additional dwelling supported by the TIA and move on down the road. It's the way it's listed here, we're a little bit out of order. And that allows you to keep moving forward with your TIA And it allows you then to come back with that information and do a site plan review.
That's the way it's set up, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's just not the way it's listed here, and I think it's got some confusion.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Seems a little out of order.
Yeah.
But still, they can go forward, but then the traffic impact analysis may be negative.
If they gotta wait to get that done before they get a site plan review, I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's an integral part of the plating process.
You have to pass that test before you can go to the next step.
Seems like that's the logical thing to do to prevent having to rework anything.
I could be comfortable with that approach.
I would be more comfortable. I get calls at least 3 times a week about traffic on 93. And this is going to just increase problems on 93. I would be a little more comfortable with that.
And Mike, may I ask a question real quick? And one thing we haven't talked about it yet today, but the understanding, and Kathy, I'm going to look your way, is that, look, if the site plan doesn't work, I mean, this is the first step, this is the zoning, but ultimately the site plan has to work. You're not obligated to approve the site plan just by saying that they can have density up to 7,500 square feet, which is essentially what you would be approving if that's what happens with. So they can say, all right, now we can start doing more engineering, spending more of their money, which they haven't probably spent a ton of yet in terms of design, but to proceed to see if they can make up to 7,500 square foot lots on this piece of property. And if approved per the conditions, looking at a phase of no more than 150 units, hire their consultant for a traffic impact analysis, send it to TxDOT, get TxDOT's review, and because they're not going to proceed with too much design if TxDOT says, sorry, we can't make that work. So and that's a little different than part of it in terms of to give you all the ability to look at that traffic impact analysis and consider whether that site plan works, where it could potentially be denied or approved with conditions, modifications, et cetera. Is that correct, Kathy? Okay.
Brian, I'm a little bit confused about the connector road, the proposed possible connector road.
Yes.
Who decides that can be done or not? Is that part of the site plan analysis? The ultimate decision will be TxDOT's review?
Well, so that in terms of, obviously, that's what our thoroughfare plan shows now in terms of that alignment.
Right.
And so really what is typically going to happen at that stage, at the plating stage, but because they would come back with a site plan, they'd have to at least show the alignment, a collector through their development. But what would be less certain is whether they, by then, perhaps the property to the east is acquired, perhaps it goes on the market, perhaps they purchase it and have control over a connection, a second phase of that collector to ultimately provide a connection to Old Highway 95.
Right.
But,
so possibly that collector would never exist because the property to the east is never for sale. I mean, that's just possibility exists.
Yes, correct. And that's what,
you only have access onto 93.
Correct.
Curiosity question. SF1, how many sellable lots would that 95 acres be reduced by between SF1 and SF2? Just ballpark.
Say probably a third.
So how many would go on? So what's that number?
I think we originally anticipated with the SF2 400. I think it was 400 lots. So we'd be what, 270, 250?
275.
That's a lot. It's more than I thought.
But the 150 is capped, per the city's safety requirements for the fire access.
Right.
150 is capped in phase one. No?
No, it's unless we could get alternative access. I mean, the two accesses on to 93 would limit it to 150.
Okay, so unless this proposed collector becomes viable or or true possibility, we'll never have more than 150 lots.
Yes.
Theoretically, 2 cars per lot, 300 more cars onto 93 if you can't get, 300 more cars period, because that would only be if you can't get the collector.
I don't see any more questions for the developer or for Mr. Chandler. Is anybody able to coalesce that into a motion?
We have a public hearing.
Oh, okay. I'll give you a minute.
I ask a question? And so originally you wanted the completion of the TIA to be the first step, but I think what Brian had explained is since the site plan is coming back to you for review, and if that hasn't been completed and doesn't support the site plan, that you could deny it at that time. So are you comfortable with it as it's presented, just with the change to planned development, single family one?
With the TIA as part one rather than part two, I think.
Yes, and that would help. We didn't put them in a chronological order, and that we probably should have, but so the TIA would be.
At the end of this is a zoning change, right? We have a tendency to do that sometimes, kind of go down the rabbit
Look
hole.
at the
when
use, yes.
This is pre-rabbit hole, so.
And that's my fault because I get calls on traffic all,
And
all the
Brian,
time.
sorry, can I ask one more question, please? On the site development, it says for review by P and Z and council, should that be review and approval?
Yes.
Okay, so we can make that change as
yeah.
well. So the change would be after the public hearing from agriculture to PDSF1 with the 3 conditions that you mentioned, but with the TIA requirement being the condition number 1, and with the site development plan for review and approval by P and Z and city council.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. We just ask you to step to the podium or raise your hand on the platform.
Alan Lytle, 504B Paseo del Plata. Y'all touched greatly on the access of cars on Highway 93. My great concern is for my police officers, my firemen, and my EMS people trying to turn left on 93 to get into this subdivision in an emergency.
If they're going east, so yes.
That's where they're going. They don't have another way to come from, because all of our fire departments and EMS and EMS stations would come down South Fifth Street, turn left at Fifth, which has a light, which is good, and then try to turn into this subdivision. And yes, they have their lights going. Yes, they're very big, but guess what? They still get hit, especially on 93 with big trucks going at 60 miles an hour. That's something else to consider before you approve something like this. And then just a curiosity question. If they can only do 150, can they still plant stuff on the other road, the rest of it? So it's still treated as agriculture, even though you changed the zone. Okay, I'm just curious.
Mr. Lytle, you just proposed a conservation subdivision. That's what you call those things.
Oh, goodness.
That's good.
Don't put that in your motion. Okay, very good.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Thank you, Mr. Lytle. Anybody on the platform? All right. Then council, I will entertain a motion on item 7 with the, yes, I think that'd probably be safest.
To approve the item as presented with the change that the land would be rezoned from agricultural to PDSF1 with the 3 conditions as described by Mr. Chandler, with the exception that the traffic impact analysis will be the first of the 3 requirements, and that the site development plan would be presented to P&Z and City Council for review and approval.
I'll make a motion to do exactly what our wonderful city attorney just read out. I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long on item 7. We have a second by Councilmember Walker. Council, please cast your vote. Item 7 passes 5 votes to 0. Item 8 is the first reading in a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a city-initiated rezoning request with development and site plan approval from light industrial to planned development multifamily 3 and planned development general retail with the corresponding 6 sub-districts as identified in the Beyond the Bend regulatory plan on 153.72 plus or minus acres, being generally located east of I-35, approximately 4,200 feet of where South General Bruce crosses the Leon River, identified as Bell County Tax Appraisal District parcels number 64097, 64096, 64095, 3947, 475-609, 475-608, in portions of 64098 and 64100 and 64099. Mr. Chandler.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. And as was mentioned in the item description, this is actually city initiated, but it's also on behalf of one of the primary property owners. There are 2 for this 153 acres, and Todd Scott is principal with the Cross Plains Development and also Riley Scott Construction. So he's here to answer any additional questions after the presentation. And I think what's important to point out too, you see that obviously y'all are familiar with the Beyond the Bend master plan. This is right next to Bend of the River and adjacent to that park space. And so thus the name Beyond the Bend. And so this is an effort to also implement from a zoning perspective that master plan, working collaboratively with the property owners that are impacted. And so it's proposed as a mixed use master plan in accordance with the Beyond the Bend plan. And in addition to Cross Plains development, 70 acres with frontage along South General Bruce are owned by 302 acres Leon River LP. And interestingly enough, this property is bisected by the school district lines of BISD and TISD. Of course. So, yeah, yes, just to make it more complicated. And so here on the right, you can see this is the zoning exhibit that we have worked closely, not only with Mr. Scott and his team, but also with 302 Acres Leon River LP, making some tweaks to the site plan, such as the neighborhood center, the red dot in the middle, which would be kind of a small downtown or town center. There were questions about, well, can that location move some? For the most part, it needs to be in the center, but in terms of how it impacts each property owner, there were concerns about that. And we have conditions at the end of this that would address that. Also, there were 2 different commercial districts with frontage on I-35. So combining those, the land uses were not dramatically different. So really just simplifying, I think more for a marketing perspective for the owner of 302 acres to be able to have an exhibit for a developer to understand and ultimately still implement the meat of the master plan. And then also just removing future street locations, which, you know what, it's premature to say that this road is going to go here, this road is going to go here. So the master plan certainly envisions where those roads will connect, and but they may shift. And so ultimately, the roads are not part of this exhibit that would be attached to the ordinance. And so just a little bit more information about this exhibit. There are 6 sub-districts. And so essentially the general retail to the northwest, that is 302 acres, Leon River LP, and Cross Plains are the multifamily, which are in really 4 different categories. They're all multifamily 3, active, neighborhood flex, townhouse, and then open space. They, as you know, the Beyond the Bend master plan promotes trails and open space and preserving a lot of that really beautiful riparian area to connect to Bend to the river, the park. And so that is right within the objectives of Cross Plains development. And so the open space is in there. And then also in the plan, you have the framework provided for the various development standards for multifamily 3 and general retail, the architectural and land uses, the landscaping. And so, but we do have 2 base zoning districts, general retail and multifamily, divided by those among the 2 property owners, and then with the general retail neighborhood center in the middle, which would be a minimum of 4.8 acres. It could end up being 15 acres, but to say at the zoning stage, a minimum of 4.8, which could provide a viable town center. So the residential component would accommodate up to approximately 1,500 units at full build out. So keep in mind that this is proposed to be higher density, multifamily, once again, mixed use, walkable, preserving open space. And so, yeah, requiring that level of density and allowing that. And then also providing accessibility to Bend to the River Park, linear park, trail system, water features. This is all part of the plan, but also in the regulatory plan, which takes the vision of the master plan and provides development standards to it. And also subdivision plat is anticipated in the near future. When you look at existing zoning, I think it's really important to point out, I know that was in the item description, but to be able to see it, that all this property is currently zoned light industrial. And of course, we've got the riverfront there as well. And so I think this plan and this effort is really a statement that that Temple is no longer going to use its river as backdoor to industrial, be an amenity and something that is not just a utility, but something that can be featured. And so you've got the light industrial, and then of course to the north you've got general retail, and so certainly it's compliant. Looking at the future development plan, there are really 3 different categories of future development designations: regional commercial along the interstate, corridor mixed use, and then also an activity center, which this is exactly in line with the idea of an activity center, of a mixed use development that's walkable, more dense, but also with a variety of amenities. And water and sewer are available, as you can see in that exhibit. And looking at the thoroughfare plan and trails. And so there's a neighborhood collector shown on the thoroughfare plan, right there, shown as a horseshoe, and a future trail and linear park along the river, connecting to Bend to the river. And so when you look at the site and photos nearby, and you see bottom right-hand corner, Bend to the river, the entrance. Okay, so other standards that are addressed with the Beyond the Bend regulatory plan. You know, we mentioned land uses, but also street network, street trail and sidewalk design, the landscaping standards, compatibility and screening from different land uses, site organization, and that's essentially where the buildings should be located and how they orient to the streets, signage, the trails, open space and parks, plazas and squares. And so having a really strong community gathering element. Right hand. That's it. Okay, thank you. All right, so 7 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet and a courtesy notice sent into the ETJ just on the other side of the river. And so we received 0 in agreement, 0 in disagreement. So staff recommends approval from light industrial to plan development multifamily and plan development general retail. And at the July 5th meeting, P&Z also recommended approval, subject to staff recommendation at a vote of 6-0. And that's subject to the following 6 conditions. So that the acreage shall be developed in substantial compliance to the development site plan and the regulatory plan that would be part of that ordinance. But the land uses permitted and developed are also in accordance with the regulatory plan. That the amount of property to be used as neighborhood center will be a minimum of 4.8 acres, as we mentioned, across the entire 153, with a 50-50 partnership of neighborhood center between both property owners. And so that was what I mentioned was negotiated with 302 acres. Also, that a subdivision plat consistent with the master plan and the regulatory plan is approved prior to development. That the planning and development director may have administrative discretion to increase building height to a maximum of 5 stories for the higher density multifamily, active multifamily district. And also that density increasing it up to 10% in terms of the number of units. And that the director also, in consultation with the development review committee, may approve minor modifications to the development and site plan and regulatory plan standards, including but not limited to screening, buffering, landscaping, architectural, and street standards. Did you get all that? Any questions?
Question. You said that planning director can use their discretion up to 5 stories. What's allowed by right? 3, 4, 4? Okay. And we always talk about, the higher the building, the more view they have of the railroad track, the interstate, and other residents. So that's, it'll be interesting to see what makes sense with those different heights. And the river.
Yes, sir.
The main view.
Yeah. Thank you. That helps.
Big tall trees.
Yep.
Is there any difference in 4-story and 5-story with fire truck necessity size?
My understanding Well, I don't want to say there isn't a difference, but I believe 3 stories is kind of typically the trigger of ladder truck. So, yeah. It's not, it wouldn't be, the difference between those two wouldn't be the trigger to have to fund additional ladder trucks.
Okay. Hadn't thought about that. Council, anything else? All right, I'll open the public hearing on item 8. Anyone wishing to speak may do so. We shouldn't have taken those chairs out that you
I
see
know.
right there by
There you go.
Alan Lytle, 504B, Paseo del Plata. Councilmember Long already asked one of my questions. I was concerned about the ladder trucks as well, 5 stories. But I'm also concerned a little bit about a general retail. I don't know exactly what kind of restrictions are on the general retails that can be put in there. I'd hate to see a bar or a bar or things, a strip club, a tattoo parlor, whatever in it with all that residential around it. So what are there any restrictions in the PD general retail for what kind of retail?
Your turn. Okay, very good question. So in the regulatory plan, we can go in a little more detail on the land uses, but there are some tweaks from just standard general retail, recognizing that the goal is to have a vibrant mixed use community that presumably would include bars, but you think Domain in Austin. I mean, please don't quote me to say, hey, we are going to have a domain in Temple, but that is kind of a close example of what is envisioned, in which you have a variety of different restaurants and retail that could include vertical mixed use, especially in the neighborhood center, where you may have bars and restaurants on the ground floor with some residential above. And so I think I guess the point is this would be a master planned development so that what is built, the developers are not going to build something that is going to detract from their ability to attract residents. And so it should all work together. Now, in terms of tattoo studios, strip clubs, those would be prohibited here. They're not allowed in general retail either way, but there are some additional uses that are allowed in general retail based zoning that were not determined to be appropriate in this type of development, that would detract from the ability to have something walkable and compact.
Makes sense. Anyone else from the audience before we go to okay. Kayla.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll be really quick because I know it's been a long meeting. Here on behalf, Kayla Landeros with West Webb, Albritton and Gentry at 10 North 2nd Street in Temple. Here on behalf of 302 Acres Leon River, which is the other property owner out in the area, as Mr. Chandler mentioned. First of all, I just want to say thank you to city staff for the work that they've put in on this. I know they've been working on it longer than I've been involved, but the work that they've done on addressing some concerns that 302 Acres originally had with the proposed zoning. Staff worked very quickly to make some changes that we're all hopeful are still meet the intent of what staff is and you all are trying to achieve in the area, but also provide some flexibility to the property owner. Just want to also quickly note the property owner is not a developer. So 302 Acres does not develop the property that they continue to own in that area, and they will not. They will hold it until an end user is found. So it could be that 302 Acres comes back to you at some point in time to request or ask for some additional consideration for the types of uses or the development in this area, obviously still wanting to keep in line with what is being proposed tonight. So that's really the comments that I had. And so thank you again to staff for all of your help. And I'm happy to answer any questions on behalf of 302 Acres if you have any.
Council. Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else on the virtual platform? No one else from the audience? All right. I will close the public hearing on item number 8 and entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 8 as presented by Mr. Chandler, including all of the
Conditions.
Thank you, conditions. I lost the word, including all the conditions.
Second the motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Williams. Council, please cast your vote. Item 8 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 9 is the first reading in a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a rezoning request from multifamily dwelling 2 to light industrial districts to planned development multifamily 2 with the site development on 16.481 plus or minus acres in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, and address is 3126 South General Bruce Drive. Mr. Chandler.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. And just to orient you to the site, you have been by here many times. It's adjacent to Bird Creek Shopping Center, Bird Creek Crossing, backs up to the Salmons Golf Course. And so the developer, Clay Partners, is proposing a multifamily product, which you can see the site plan because this is, once again, a planned development up on the screen, and it's for the 16.48 acre tract. And so multifamily 2 does allow up to 20 dwelling units per acre. The site plan that they're showing is much less than that. It's 8.1, a single story product. And so you're looking at 134 units per the site plan. It's kind of a cottage concept for rent, not short-term rentals, but year and 18-month rentals with a variety of floor plans and elevations, which I'll show you in a second. Combination of surface parking, garages and carports, amenities such as a pool, community center, dog park, and walking paths. And then also something that is part of the conditions that you'll see is a safety netting facing the golf course. And this came out of the Development Review Committee process. So similar to the fairways at Salmons, where they have that safety netting to protect residents. And then also P&Z approved the plat for this on Monday. And so here are some renderings of what the cottages would look like. It's just an example of 2 of the elevations and floor plans. And so future land use shows this area as urban residential. And so here you can see images of the site and surrounding properties. Also Avenue K, at which their access, and I mentioned them a neighbor, Miss Rice, who I think she may want to speak after this. But before the meeting, I said, well, I need to make sure it's pointed out that access will be on Avenue K. So I'm glad I saw the picture and I looked at you and I said, I forgot that. 14
the only
notices
access?
were sent out to property. I'm
Is
sorry.
that the only access through K?
Yes. And we can go back to the site plan too in just a moment. So 14 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. And only one was returned, and that is actually the seller of the property. And so the following 6 conditions are what staff is proposing: substantial compliance with the renderings and the site plan, sidewalks, crosswalks, and ramps should have comply with ADA, accessibility standards, the safety netting, as we talked about, on the northern boundary adjacent to the golf course, detailed drainage and detention analysis to be approved during plating, so that the site plan could change after that. On-site property management be required. This is something they're going to do anyway, but just putting that in the conditions, with staff present during normal working hours. And then last item, minor variations of site plan required due to topography, drainage, as I mentioned, or other factors may be approved by the Director of Planning and Development. And so staff is recommending approval with those conditions. And at the June 21st meeting, P&Z voted 6-0 for approval. And I'm just going to go back to the site plan. So I'm just going to, there we go. So access, one access point is, and I'm sorry, that one is actually on General Bruce. And the second access point is on West Avenue K. But the Rice property is adjacent to the General Bruce access. So right up next to it.
Tell me again, so where is, do the Rices live?
The Rices live this piece of property right next to the General Bruce driveway.
Okay, and how far down is that from like the Goodyear, all that?
Through the next, yeah,
Right next,
next
okay.
property.
Council, I received a text from someone asking everybody to be sure and turn your microphone on and speak loudly. They're trying to listen online. So check to be sure your green light is on.
So yes, you can see Firestone and the Rice property is between
Got it.
25 feet wide. Oh, 50, okay, thank you.
Which is, what's 25 feet?
The Rice property is 50,
Your
50
property.
feet wide, yes, ma'am.
And could you go back to the site development?
What was the total number of dwelling units?
134.
But by right, there could be more. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm sorry, I'm unclear. What do you mean by?
By if the multifamily too,
Oh,
so.
right. No, I
yes.
understand what she meant.
Yes,
Are you still looking at this? Could you go to the picture that showed the street and the Rice's property, I think?
well, okay, there's, okay.
There was a picture, picture, not a drawing.
Mhm.
lower right, lower right corner is K. We're
Yes.
looking at K.
Correct.
And
But-
on the right is the property in question to be built on, and on the left is the Rice's property.
No, the Rice's property is actually, you'd be able to see it in the top left corner. That's kind of
Top
looking,
left corner on the right.
To the south of the chain link fence.
Yeah.
yes. Would that be correct? Okay.
So that's undeveloped, right? The Rices don't live on that property or anything.
Oh, you don't live there. I'm sorry. I thought I was looked finally.
I thought I saw a building as well.
Say 134 dwellings in there. On how many acres?
16 and change.
And this lower left corner is Avenue K.
Correct.
Picture. And that street is wide enough to support this number of properties for fire and ambulance and,
Yes.
And there's not an option on the table now for another ingress and egress.
Probably not. Just
As a site
it
plan.
would certainly not by TxDOT and limited access already. I mean, that's really the only access point that they could get to General Bruce. Avenue K is the only other feasible option,
so there are two.
and there too. Correct.
What a miracle.
So.
Anything else for Mr. Chandler?
Mayor. So one change that I had made in the memo, I think after speaking with someone, was on the safety netting, that it be constructed and maintained.
Okay, so yes, that would be something to add to that condition. That they.
Right now, it just reads constructed.
Right, so and maintain, please. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Chandler before we open the public hearing? At this time, I'll open the public hearing on item 9. Step to the podium or raise your hand. Ma'am. Thank you.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor and everyone?
Good. Please state your name and address.
My name is Debbie Rice and I live at 249 Bed-Stuy Drive, Temple, Texas. The access they would have would be on my driveway. That would be their second access that they would have,
Would be my what?
the driveway that they would have on the property
Next to it.
next to it. Yeah,
Yeah, not actually on your property.
no,
Right next to it.
right next to it. Yes,
Could you go
So
back to the site
currently
plan
that is
once
your
you-
property.
Yes.
And this would be to the north of that.
right.
Okay.
So they would have Avenue K. And if they wanted to purchase mine, they would have access.
If they, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
If they wanted to purchase mine property, they would have access to,
Is that something you're looking at doing?
yeah, if they would consider.
Have you spoken with them about that?
Not yet. We are
Oh.
gonna talk after.
So they've confirmed during the development review committee process that the driveway that they're showing there, it's adjacent to the Rice property, but not on it.
Right.
Right,
So they're not relying on the Rices to be able to have access.
they're not. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else in the audience? Anyone on the platform? I heard a no. Who said no?
So the access point splits the property line from Tanisha.
Is there anybody from Clay Partners on? Or
This is Shane Siebel with Clay Partners. I'm here if
Yes, Shane.
I'm happy to
Thank
speak
you.
to if there are any questions.
I'm sorry, Brian, I couldn't, who is it?
Shane Siebel from Clay Partners.
Oh, okay.
He's the developer,
Thank you.
so he can address speculation.
And that would be addressed in planning, right?
Yes,
So we couldn't rezone anything that's not in this property.
that's absolutely correct.
And we'll be back.
I apologize. I'm having a difficult time hearing. Regarding the adjacent property, we would be happy to discuss including that in a takedown and talk to Ms. Rice about purchasing that land.
Okay.
Shane, if I may repeat the various questions that,
Sure.
That were discussed earlier. Please confirm that that driveway shown on the site plan is solely on your property, completely on your property.
That's correct. Yes. The driveway as shown is only located, sorry, on the 16 acres that is under discussion for this zoning case. There's not a proposed portion of that driveway located on the Rice property as it's shown right now.
And by driveway, we're talking about access road in essence into the proposed subdivision.
Sure, and
Okay.
an access
Yeah.
driveway.
Mr. Siebold, again, this is all for rental. Is that right? Long-term rental?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And how do you describe long-term?
By definition, in this particular case, we won't have lease agreements shorter than 6 months. Most will be in the 13 to 14 month range. It'll be leases will be set up to where rents are based on the length of the lease itself and a per month basis. So 6 month rent will be more expensive than 12, 13, 14 month rents. So long term would be 6 months minimum and most being a year or more.
And who are you looking at marketing these to?
Yeah, primarily it's to young families. That's kind of primary target. Additionally, some active adult empty nesters and lock and leave in the sense of empty nesters who may be interested in more kind of travel oriented lifestyles that they spend a few months in certain places depending on the weather, kind of head south for the winter, head north for the summers. But primarily would be younger families, one younger child, married couples.
I see a dog park. Do you propose a play area as well for these kids?
There is not a proposed play area. Most of these younger families, that's children in the ages of 2 and under. And then after that, it typically is a very, very low, if any, population of children from 3 to 17.
Could you give us an idea of the proposed rents?
Sure, I think that we're kind of in the ballpark right now of, traditional multi or kind of regular garden multifamily rents, comparable rents in the area for Class A. That's somewhere in the line of about $1.80 a square foot.
So what you're actually doing is you're building an apartment complex with single family 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. But you're building them in single family mode.
That's correct. It's a fully detached community. Each home is independently leased, has its own 4 exterior walls, but is professionally managed and maintained in the same manner as a multifamily would be.
Is there an example of this that you or others have done?
Yes, sir, there is. There's quite a few. We're out of Dallas, and there's quite a few around the DFW metro, as well as I think they're starting to pop up pretty frequently in the North Austin suburbs of Round Rock and Georgetown.
I think it's a very interesting concept, and I appreciate you explaining it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate y'all's time tonight. I do believe one of the items that was discussed was the golf course netting. We are acceptable and had the conversation with the city to assume all responsibility for costs, including maintenance and ownership of that long term.
This is Jason Deckman, as case manager on both the rezoning and the plat. I wanted to add a little bit to the discussion regarding the traffic. It did come up at the plat, and it's been kind of the topic lately regarding TIAs and assessment of traffic. In this case, we approached TxDOT early in the process. They said, yes, they would like a TIA. Lee Engineering performed it and delivered to TxDOT with their findings. TxDOT concurred and the TIA did not recommend any additional signals or turn lanes, based on the projected volumes. TxDOT concurred and accepted that, so that that impact of both those entrances has been assessed and approved by TxDOT.
Anybody else?
That was helpful.
Nick Rice, 249 Betan Drive, Temple, Texas. We have hired an attorney about 3-4 months ago when it came to the selling of the property. And our attorney has looked at our paperwork and we hired him. And I need someone to look at that driveway. I think that driveway is on our side. They say it's not, but we've got on our side of our fence, how it turns right into that's the only way in and out of access to our property. So most of our driveway is toward the left of the fence. Very little bit of the driveway, like maybe foot and a half links to the fence.
Do you have a survey showing that? I mean, ultimately, that's what'll be needed. Sure,
That's okay.
sure. Yeah, as long as you have some sort of documentation.
Yeah, that'll be a discussion that your attorney will need to have with the developer. That's a civil aspect of that issue that would need to be resolved between those two parties.
We did, and then they sold it. Our guy backed off and then sold it to these guys. So I don't know how exactly that worked, but we can get what y'all need or have the attorney contact.
Right. I think they said they were going to speak with you anyway about the possibility of purchasing that property. So I think that could just be part of that conversation.
Okay. Thank y'all.
And just to clarify, I know y'all have an existing driveway. In fact, I don't know if you remember that you were the first site visit I had when I started working here back in 2013. So I remember it, but they have an existing driveway. This would be a new driveway. But of course, the survey would confirm that. But yeah, so you have an existing driveway. Theirs would be a new one.
Okay.
Will that affect anything we're doing tonight? No? Okay.
Anyone else? At this time, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 9.
I'll make a motion to approve item 9.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Walker, a second by Councilmember Long. Council, please cast your vote. Item 9 passes 5 votes to 0. Item 10 reads to request a motion of direction to the city manager regarding whether to add the Reverend Roscoe Harrison Jr. Way as an alternate name, as an alternate street name to East Avenue C between South Martin Luther King Drive and South 14th Street. Ms. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a little bit of a different agenda item than we normally see. As council knows, we do have a street naming policy that lays out the procedures for considering naming a street or facility after someone. That policy does recommend that no formal, that the naming of the street or the renaming of the facility or street does not occur until at least 1 year beyond the death of someone that you're honoring with the street name. In addition, the street that we've identified as a very appropriate way to honor Reverend Harrison is, as you all also know, Avenue C is under construction right now. So I would like to ask you to kind of affirm your policy position that you are in support of naming Avenue C after Reverend Roscoe Harrison at the appropriate time once we have the street construction completed and we can unveil the street with the new dual naming in honor of Reverend Roscoe Harrison. We would obviously have a formal, recognition process at that time as well. But it would be helpful for me to have direction and affirmation of your policy perspective on that matter.
When is construction proposed to be finished?
We are still in the right-of-way acquisition phase. So that's, I don't have a definitive time frame for you.
Probably not before February, which would be.
No, it
a
would
year.
be
Yeah.
in compliance at that point.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And obviously, I think this is something that staff is very supportive of, but I've also received multiple communications from citizens in support of this request as well.
And along with
including
approval from his wife.
Yes, which I wanted to
Yeah.
to make sure that that she was in support of this. So I've received, I don't want to name every request because I might forget one, but I want to thank Benny Walsh from president of NAACP because he really helped organize the responses and getting with Reverend Roscoe Harrison's widow to make sure she was comfortable and in support of this plan. So that's what I'm asking, a little bit different item, but just to affirm your support of us moving in that direction.
So one question is where it says to add Reverend Roscoe Harrison Jr. Way as an alternate street name. We're not going to try to put two names on the sign, are we?
What we typically, if a street has already been named, we typically recommend dual naming for both. I'm thinking of Little Joe. It's a dual name street, so people who are already addressed off of that street are they can choose whether for mail delivery purposes whether to use the current Avenue C or to switch over to the new name. I believe we typically do sign dual name streets in both ways for public safety reasons.
That makes sense. I hadn't thought about it that way. Thank you. No one has the nerve to vote no for this. That ain't happening.
Make a motion that we affirm that we can move forward and naming the street Avenue C after Reverend Roscoe Harrison Jr.
I will be proud to second that.
He's been he was a great advocate for the community as a whole. He loved the community. And I think just honoring him will keep his memory alive.
Yep, and what an honor. And to especially, I think it's very appropriate that it then intersects with MLK Drive.
Yeah.
And right there by his church. I mean, there could not be a better place
spot.
or time. So this is an easy one.
Yep.
So I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Morales, have a second by Councilmember Williams. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. This is 10, right? Item 10 passes. Item 10 passes 5 votes to 0. It is 8:36 p.m. Thank you all for attending, and this meeting is adjourned.